I may not, live in a mansion, and I'm not driving a Mustang, but I couldn't be happier. I'm truly happy with the life I have, and I'm eternally grateful for the things I've been given. The projects I do, like the talk show and the award show, are to give back to the community that gave me everything. That's super important to me, to kind of pay it forward. So for me, this is my world. This is arguably more important to me. This is more important to me than the real world is. And I never want to see that change. I never want to be anywhere else, if I'm honest.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, your host, Nepherti. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 56 of the podcast. I will give you a heads up now that I am a little bit sick, a little bit under the weather. So if I sound a little bit different, and if you hear sniffling, it's because I'm still kind of in recovery at the moment. So I appreciate your understanding in that regard. With regards to the podcast, before we get started, I want to kindly thank all of the people who have been very, very supportive of my content, both on Patreon, those people who have watched, people who have liked, people who have left comments, anyone who's shown support for my content. I sincerely appreciate that. Still very, very small, still I'm kind of finding my footing with everything. Even though I've been doing this for 56 episodes, we're still kind of small. But thank you to all my patrons. And if you all are interested in very much, supporting me on there, like my Snuggle and Uwu tier patrons, you can do so at patreon.com/Nepherti. If you're interested in getting some exclusive content, which we'll be doing some of that exclusive content at the end of tonight's podcast. So there'll be an exclusive conversation with Puck at the end that you'll only be able to get on Patreon. So if that's interesting to you, head on over. But enough with me promoting myself. I don't want to spend so much time doing that. I want to get right into things. So tonight, my guest is, of course, none other than Puck. So very, very interested and very much looking forward to talking with you.
That's me.
Yeah,
I'm Puck.
True. You
Hi.
are. Hey. Hey, what's up? It's good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad we could talk and hang out, have a great conversation. Two talk show hosts getting together. That doesn't happen every day. So
I didn't realize you've done 56 episodes as well. That's a lot of episodes. Oh.
Yeah. I've been at this.
I saw Starheart on. Was Starheart last week or the week before? I can't remember.
Starheart was the last guest that I had on about 2 weeks ago. I kind of break them up in 2-week periods just to give me time to look for people and give them time, not feel rushed and everything. So about 2 weeks in between.
Yeah.
So
that's okay. Yeah, I love Starheart. I need to actually spend some time in that goober and get to know them because they're lovely.
Yeah, they're very much a sweetheart, and I was very, very happy to have them on. So that was definitely a very, very wonderful time. And that podcast is up on YouTube right now. So if you want to check that out at any point, it's up there for you, and for anyone else, of course. But this is your podcast, of course. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about you. So. Essentially, you and I have actually not had a conversation in the Pixels before. We've only been talking through DMs, essentially. But basically, our first interaction was over on Twitter. Basically, when I'm like, "Hey, I watched the VRCAwards and even streamed it and everything." So that was our first interaction. So.
Yeah, I was watching the feedback from people. I went and watched their VODs, and I watched yours as well. And I was researching and being nosy and seeing what people thought. So I had to have a look. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think it's important to get feedback from people. You wanna know what was good, what was not so good, what could be improved on in the future. So I'm glad that you were I didn't know you were watching or looking for feedback and stuff. But I'm glad you checked my stuff out. I appreciate that. So yeah.
Thank you for watching the show. I appreciate it. I'm just glad people actually enjoyed it. That was kind of important to us. That's the whole reason we did it. Wanted to do something fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like the thing about that is like the VR Community Awards is that's like the very first one ever. So I feel like if you genuinely care about the community and like what people are doing creatively, which I very well do as a podcast host, I think it was just in my best interest to watch it and to see who won and to support it, and most importantly. So yeah, just that was a no-brainer for me. Yeah. But yeah, I typically like to just jump into things. So I got to do a little bit of an icebreaker like we just did. But basically, I like to kind of just jump into things and kind of get who you are. I like to ask people, whoever I have on as my guest, I typically like to ask them like who they are, like who is Puck. If you had to describe yourself to someone who had no idea who you are, like who is Puck, and you can go into as much detail as you like. Obviously, let's just kind of a brief overview of who you are.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
That's okay. I actually struggle introducing myself to people. Like, if I get rated and stuff, I'm like, hi, I'm Puck. I'm a bunny and I kiss boys. And I'm a gender fluid mess. That's about as far as it gets, really.
That's fair. That's fair.
I host a talk show as well. As Nephew mentioned, I host a. Can I call you Nephew? Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah. People call me that all the time.
I host a talk show called What the Puck, but we haven't done it for like a couple years, so like it's been a while. And I also, as you mentioned, I hosted an award show, but for VRChat, and it was like. A couple people turned up and watched it or something. I don't know. It's this little thing that we did. It was
this little thing that we did.
Of fun.
Right.
Yeah,
little thing.
It was lots of fun. And yeah, that's about me in a nutshell. I'm a VTuber. So people think I'm a VRChatter first and a VTuber second. I'm actually a VTuber first and a VRChatter second. Yeah, people don't know that, but yeah. So I'm a VTuber. And I'm incredibly gay. Right. That's about as good as it gets.
That is fair. That is fair. Like I can appreciate that. Like the honesty is very much palpable, and I appreciate that kind of thing. So yeah. How did you come up with the name Puck? Because I will say that your name was not always Puck. It was VRC Bunny.
It was, yeah. I miss that name sometimes. Honestly, I like it. People call me Bunny. No one calls me Bunny anymore because now I'm Puck. Everyone's kind of forgotten I'm Bunny, and Bunny has a lot of sentimental value to me. That name means a lot. So, feel free to call me Bunny if you want, guys. It's totally fine. Puck just kind of came out of nowhere. So I was just streaming one day, and I was starting to grow as a creator, and I just partnered, and I was like, I need an identity. Like, I need to not be generic bunny name because it doesn't really have any identity to it. So I was just streaming one day and I just thought the name Puck. I was like, oh my god, that's a great name because it's easy to remember. It's super short, and like you can like no one's got it. No one's using the name Puck. So I went for it. I asked that there was a Twitch account called Puck, but it had been inactive for a couple of years. So I spoke to my partner manager and I was like, hey, can I have that? And they didn't even check with me. They just one day later came back and said, yeah, your name's now Puck. Have a nice day. I was like, oh, okay then. So
okay.
I suddenly became Puck like overnight. I wasn't even sure if I'd get the account, but that was huge of them. So thank you Twitch. Thank you Twitch. I appreciate that. That was awesome of you. And yeah, I've been Puck ever since. Lots of people think it's related to something. So, like, people are coming to my chat all the time and they'll be like, hey, are you Puck from Berserk? Are you Puck from Midsummer Night Dream? Are you Puck from Dota 2? I'm like, no, I'm just Puck. Like, I'm not actually associated or in relevance to anyone. It's just my name. And yeah, I like it. I really love my name being Puck now because it's giving me that individuality and that identity that I wanted. But I do miss being called Bunny. Like, I wish people would call me Bunny more.
Okay, yeah. I mean that makes perfect sense. Like, I'm glad that I remembered that little detail because I actually didn't know that little tidbit. It was actually told to me by one of my mods. One of my mods kind of let me know about that. So
yeah, it's been like I haven't had that name for like 3 years now. It's been so long. So a lot of my I can imagine some of like my viewers now have no clue that I used to be called VRC Bunny. But yeah, that's how I started like 5 years ago, and that's what my name was in VRChat before it became Puck. And yeah, that was just who I was. But I'll always be a bunny. I will forever be Bunny Boy. That's never going to change.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I think it makes sense to, like, once you're like in a position of, like, you know, prominence, when you're, you know, partnered, you want to build a brand, and, you know, you want to have something that is unique, that stands out, that people remember, and it's easy to remember. So, you know, there are tons of bunnies all over the place. So, you know, it's good to that you kind of differentiated yourself in that way. I think that is very important.
Yeah, it was the main eye opener for me was like people would be like talking about a bunny, and I'd be like, which one? Do you mean me or someone else? Like, there's so many bunnies, as you mentioned. So I like at that point I was like, yeah, I need to fix this. That's kind of why I made the move.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I get that. So so with regards to your look, your avatar design, how did that come about? How did you kind of settle on this particular look, and like how did that come about?
So it took like years to actually come up with something a bit more unique than what I was previously using. For many years I just used base avatars and had them recolored by friends. So I never kind of once again had that individuality or that like identifying like feature or trait about me. And I had lots of different people try and work with me to make my model and give me my identity. And for one reason or another, a lot of them fell through. And for 2 years, I had 5 projects fall through. They just didn't work out for one reason or another. And eventually, I had a friend called Neckoned. Absolutely lovely kitty cat goober. Love them to bits. Shout out to Neckoned. I was introduced by Jacoba actually, so Jacoba put us in touch. I'm long-term friends with Jacoba. I love that goober too. And yeah, we worked together and we brainstormed some ideas. We looked at some avatars. We looked at my options and you know what was within my budget, because you know I don't have like a lot of YouTubers do. They have like thousands of dollars they drop on their avatar. I think this cost me all in. This was like $400 or $500 in total.
Oh.
The whole thing. So it is a kit bash. It's not like made from scratch or anything. But I'm a mix of 4 avatars, like kind of just smashed together. And one of the biggest costs is paying for all the avatars because I had to buy 4 avatars. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of was trial and error, and a lot, like 2.5 years in total to actually come up with the final Puck. And I debuted in, I think it was March or April last year. So it's almost been a year now since I debuted as Puck formally. And yeah, I still love my model to this day. I have no intentions of changing anything anytime soon. And yeah, I'm just gonna rock this for a while, I think, because I'm happy. So.
Okay. So you've always considered yourself, obviously, you know, like even well, I guess even before like you started streaming, were you always like into the bunny theme in general? Is that always your thing?
Yeah. So I've been called Bunny in real life since 2008. So 17 years. I've been known as Bunny. It all started when I lost a bet with a friend. They used to work in an anime shop in London, and I said to them, like the shop's not there anymore, so I can say this line. He used to steal stock from the shop, and he used to just give it to us sometimes when we came in to visit him, because he worked in this anime shop. And I went in one day and I was just sitting with him behind the counter, and there was nothing going on, and we were super bored. I said to him, "Hey, can I have some stuff? Like, can I grab like some sweets or something?" Because they were Japanese imports, so they were like really cool. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "Okay, I'll make a bet with you. If I win, I get stuff. If you win, you get whatever you want." And he was like, "Okay, deal." So we decided that we'd bet on whether he could hit like, I think it was like 700 or more on a boxing machine, because where it was in London, there was literally next door was Europe's largest arcade. It was called Funland. previously it was Sega World. So Sega World opened their own like mini theme park in London. In like I think they opened that in like 1994 or something. And when that didn't work out after like 4 or 5 years, Funland bought it out and turned it into York's largest arcade, and it was just wild in there. It was great. Many good memories. And yeah, there's a punch bag machine in there. He had £1 for 3 tries. This is back when it was 3 goes for £1. Like, oh, what an economy. And he took his first punch and he was like nowhere near, and I was like, I've got this in the bag. Second punch was like pretty close at like 600. So I was like, uh-oh, this is dangerous. His last punch actually made it, and I think he hit quite high over. I think it was like 760 or something. It was like way over. And I was just like, oh, god damn it. So he just looks at me, and out of nowhere, like there'd been no like relevance or connection to this prior in our friendship. And he said, I'm going to call you Bunny. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to go home. I'll see you next week. I turn up at the arcade next week, and everyone's calling me Bunny. Everyone's just like, oh, hi, Bunny. What's going on, Bunny? I just looked at him and went, you. And he just gave out this, like, are we allowed to swear? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I can swear.
Oh, he gave out this the biggest shit-eating grin, and because he's quite a large individual, he kind of put his hands on his stomach like Santa and just bellowed this laugh, and I'll never forget it. And he's such an asshole for it. And the name stuck because my friends would then introduce me to their friends as Bunny, and everyone forgot my real name, and I just became Bunny. And I've always kept the name Bunny since then as kind of homage to, you know, the memories and the experiences I had in the Trocadero as a kid growing up. And yeah, it kind of became my identity. And I actually had 2 bunnies at one point, so I rescued 2 bunnies from a bad situation they were in. And yeah, I just love anything bunny, and I will always be a bunny. And it kind of fits me for multiple reasons, like multiple traits. Like I can be high energy and stupid and gremlin and fast paced sometimes. And I can also be cozy, cuddly, and comfy, and cuddle with people. So I kind of follow the traits of a bunny as well. So that works. But yeah, it kind of started from 2008, and even to this day, that group of friends still call me Bunny. Like, that's never changed, and I hope it never does. But,
Nice.
so yeah, that's where Bunny came from.
Oh wow, very detailed, very interesting story. Like I mean, yeah, like everyone, I feel like everyone has like origins, and like that's what I like to do. I like to kind of dig into people's origins and their thoughts and opinions on things. So it's really good to get that kind of that insight of like exactly like how that all came about and how it ultimately led up to who you are now, as you know, what people largely know you as, which is really interesting stuff. Yeah, so I guess kind of ancillary of that, you know, you said you're very gay. Has it always been the case? Like, did you have an awakening, or was that always like your thing from like as far back as you can remember?
It was kind of a weird one for me. So I grew up in an atmosphere where, like, you know, I'm older than most people in this industry. You know, like I'm approaching my 40s. In a couple of years, and I grew up in a different time in the world where, you know, there was still a lot of misconceptions about many things, such as, you know, things were getting a lot better, but there was still, like, you know, it was still quite bad. Like, being gay was still generally frowned upon in society on a wide scale. And I'm UK born and bred. I grew up in South London. And, you know, there was still a stigma about, you know, colored people and specific races, and, you know, so unfortunately some of those traits still exist today in our society, but they were arguably a lot worse back then. Like, people were a lot less tolerant to things, and I grew up in an atmosphere where I never really knew about gay people or gay stuff or, you know, LGBT in any way. And it wasn't that I was shielded from it, it just wasn't really talked about in public. It was that kind of time. Whereas, you know, we didn't have the internet when I was a kid. The internet wasn't even a thing when I was growing up. So people didn't have the ability to find out about other, you know, cultures or communities or hobbyists through the internet. You only ever knew what you knew from word of mouth and where you grew up and the people you knew. And, you know, growing up, I was knocking around with like drug dealers and, you know, we used to go to the pub on a Saturday night and then we'd go out and vandalize stuff. You know, I was actually like, at one point in my life, I could have ended up on a very bad path. I'm very glad I didn't. But there was a chance where that almost did happen. Like I was starting to get into I was couriering for drug dealers at one point. I was making money from drug dealers by couriering drugs around.
Wow.
I don't really talk about that much. Like many people don't actually know that side of me or like my childhood in that regard. And you know, being gay was just something that was not even addressed or considered. It wasn't even ever sort of thought about on a general sense. Like it just wasn't a thing. And I kind of, as I started to make friends who didn't come from my area, and the internet was up and coming, and we had MSN Messenger, you know, the internet was starting to expand, and these communities and these people with their voices could reach out to others. I started to realize that, you know, the LGBT community is actually all around me, but I've just never known it's there. And I never really questioned my sexuality growing up because I never really had a thought about it. Like I was never interested in sex like the other kids were growing up, you know, like going through puberty, everyone's like got a high sex drive and they're like, oh my god, we should date and stuff. I wasn't interested in any of that stuff. Like my puberty was just, I was just null and void and had no interest in like women or relationships or men at that point. And kind of as I got into the end of my teenage years and my early 20s, I started to see more of, you know, the LGBT community around me and in central London while I was hanging out, and it kind of made me question myself, like, because, you know, I grew up in a household where, you know, we didn't talk about LGBT stuff. My dad is very traditional. He grew up in my dad grew up in a time where it was gay people couldn't get married. It was illegal to get married. Yeah, okay, like so he grew up in a different time in the world, and you know, he's 76 in a couple months. So you know, it was a very different time back then. And you know, he is a victim of the atmosphere and the circumstance of which he grew up, and he has always had this kind of, it's not resentment or hatred, I think it's just a lack of understanding and knowledge of the LGBT community and things like that, and other races and cultures. And you know, it was, as I was exploring my sexuality, I could never be open about it because I knew that would be a devastating, like but I don't blame him. My dad's not a bad person. I love my dad to bits even to this day, but he was like, if he'd known, like, I've had this conversation at this table. We generically said one day when I was like, we were talking about LGBT stuff randomly, and I said to him, you know, what would happen if I was gay? And he, a split second reaction, said, I'd disown you. So I knew at that point, I better keep my mouth shut because this isn't gonna go well. And you know, sometimes things are better left unsaid, and not everything has to be shared. Like, it would be nice in an ideal world to be able to come out to my dad and explain to him who I really am. But I don't need to put him through that. He doesn't deserve that. He provided for me. He loves me unconditionally. For anything I've done in my life. Like, he is a good father, but he just wouldn't understand, unfortunately. So it was hard. It was hard for me growing up to kind of understand that I was starting to have feelings for guys. But it was so taboo in the atmosphere I grew up in that it was very hard to explore that side of me. And I started cross-dressing, and you know, I'd still like my sister's skirt and try it on when she wasn't in, you know, things like that. But I was very, very secretive about it. Like, I wouldn't tell anyone about it. And I would go to cosplay conventions, and I would wear like I'd cosplay female characters, like I did Sakura from Street Fighter. I'd sometimes dress up as a Catboy maid, like in a maid outfit. and it made me feel so free. It made me feel so like happy in myself. It wasn't like a attention thing or like a fetish thing. It was a this makes me feel like me thing. It's very hard to explain that euphoria and that feeling I used to get when I'd go to conventions and be able to dress how I wanted without prejudice or judgment, and be safe around my friends. And as it continued over the years, I was exploring more, and I was trying to hold relationships with girls, but they just wouldn't hold. Like I've never held a relationship for more than 6 months in my life, and all of my relationships have been with girls. I've never had a relationship guy at this point. I had one long distance relationship, but I don't really count it because it was kind of like not a real serious thing. So it took me a long time to explore myself and figure out my sexuality because of all these factors. And around the age of about 23, I kind of figured it out. And I mean, I'm not exclusively gay. I am pansexual, and I've swung for both sides more times than I care to count. But generally, I feel like as time's gone on and I've become more comfortable with myself and my personal identity being just fluid now, I am more interested in guys. Not almost exclusively, but not 100%. Like, I would still, if I fell in love with a girl, I would still fall in love with a girl. Like, it's still a possibility, but I think it's unlikely compared to falling in love with a guy at this point. So yeah, I'm pan, but like heavily gay leaning, I would say. So yeah, it was a long journey for me, and I remember the first time that I was like looking at adult content between like two men.
Mm-hmm.
I had this horrible feeling of guilt inside me that I was doing something really, really wrong. And that was just because my subconscious was saying to me that this is such a bad thing, this is really wrong, you shouldn't be doing it. And it took me a very long time to kind of beat that out of me and understand that it's okay to not be like everyone else is, and to be proud of who you are. And yeah, it was a long battle for me, but I finally figured it out at the sort of around 23, 24, and I've never looked back, and I'm super happy with how I am and who I am. And my mum knows what I'm like, and she loves me, and my mum is like the greatest person in the world. I wouldn't be who I am today without my mum. She means everything to me. And my big sister knows as well, and she's super supportive. So yeah, most of my family know, and they are lovely, and they get it, and they've known for a long time. Like, the signs have been there, but luckily my dad's a bit clear. So yeah, that was kind of my awakening. Was a long journey over beating my childhood and the things that I'd been taught by the atmosphere I grew up in, that being myself was okay. So that was a really, really hard time for me. And I'm just happy that I figured it out. It took years, but you can't rush these things. When you know. Like, you won't wake up one day and go, am I gay? I think I'm gay. You will just naturally, you will know when that time is right.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think there are a number of people who, especially like in this day and age where there's constant, like pressure from like various groups. Like, the internet has made it very, very accessible to find a group of people where you can belong and where you can feel comfortable with. So it's very easy to get confused in this day and age because there's so many different people saying different things and people are pretty impressionable these days. So people should take the time, like you did, to really kind of come to terms with that sort of thing. Like, like it's not something that comes easily. It shouldn't really come easily. So, that's awesome that you're able to come to terms with that and figure out like who you are as a person. That's like really the most important thing. So that's
it would naturally happen anyway. Like, yeah. It's like, it's just a part of who you are. Like, you don't just become gay. You are, it's just something that's there inside you. Just like anything, in that sort of regard. And yeah, whatever you are, you will naturally figure it out. For some people, they know from a very young age. For other people, it takes later in life, like me. but you get there. It's like when the time is right, you'll know.
So, so you mentioned that you're gender fluid. In this day and age, I think people understand what that means, but for people who may not understand, I think it's also, I imagine there's like a universal understanding of what that means, but like, what does it mean, in general for people who may not understand what that means, and what does that mean for you, as someone who's gender fluid?
Yeah, so I don't really use the universal term for gender fluid. I think that with any label or identity, everyone has kind of a different perception of what makes up that kind of identity. So for me, being gender fluid is I will wake up some days and I want to be a boy, and I want to wear boy clothes, and I want to do boy things. And then other days I'll wake up and I will want to be a girly girl, and I want to do my hair, do my nails, and wear a pretty dress, and wear a bra, and just be cute and effeminate and comfortable in like women's clothing. And so yeah, like it's kind of like, it's not like having split personalities as such, but it's just like every day I feel like I could be one or the other, but I'm not fully either. So I feel like that's kind of my definition of being gender fluid. So for example, today is a boy day, so I am wearing a pair of jeans and a shirt, and when I went to the shop earlier I was just wearing a hoodie and like normal trainers. But yesterday I was wearing a really cute shirt with a skirt and thigh highs and my Mary Jane school shoes. So yeah, every day is different, and it can be annoying because I can't like living in the UK, it's fairly accepting to people who are LGBT. It's not always perfect though, like I wouldn't go out presenting female because I would it quickly get trouble. So I'm very like only in my own space and the safety of my own environment do I present myself the way I feel that day. I have been out like in female clothing before once or twice, but I have to be like super confident, and the stars have to align for it to happen. Though yeah, it does make me feel really good about myself when I do, but I understand the risks that are involved when I do. So generally I'm not a confrontational person. I will if someone's like hurling abuse at me, I'm gonna keep walking and hope they don't come for me. So I find it best to avoid confrontation by just not making it possible in the first place. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. Like I said, I do think it's important for people to have like their own established reasoning for like how the terms that they use. Like I think, again, a lot of younger people tend to just use terminologies and not really kind of have a internalized understanding of what that means. So it's good to hear your perspective on that. So I do want to ask, I think does that kind of affect, like, is there like any sort of psychological thing that goes on, or is it just as simple like I wake up one day and I feel this way, I wake up another day I feel this way? Is it like at all, is there any sort of like psychological thing that goes on? And I guess how did you kind of get to that point? Because obviously you said you realized you were gay when you were around 23 years old. So what was that like to kind of reconcile that sensibility of being gender fluid back when you were first kind of figuring that out, and like is there any comparison to how you do that now, like psychologically speaking?
Like I don't psychologically I don't feel like there's too much going on there. I'm still myself regardless of how I'm presenting that day. Like my personality doesn't really change with it. I just feel differently. So I just feel girly, and I want to wear pretty things and look cute, and it just makes me feel good about myself.
And was it like that when you first started? Like when you first figured that out? Did that come with being gay?
Actually,
yeah.
To figure it out. So like I'd started before I like fully understood that I was like pan, but like it was super gay leaning, because I came out as pan, and then like as time's gone on, I've become more gay leaning over the years. So like the 15 years that's preceded that, I've kind of gone in that direction mostly, because I was still, you know, I was having intimacy with both genders at that point. But now these days it's more exclusively just males that are intimate, so it's kind of slowly gone that direction. But yeah, the kind of cross-dressing and like exploring kind of what made me happy and how I like to express myself. So I was identifying as a femboy. So, you know, from 2008, I was basically was when I wore my first maid outfit in 2008, and that was kind of that was a big moment for me, and that kind of opened up this world of stuff that I really enjoy, and presenting in female clothing is something that's really, really nice and liberating for me. And it kind of just went from there, and I over the years have amassed a massive wardrobe now of female clothing. So I have like entire outfits I can choose, and really pretty things and stuff, for pretty much any occasion. And it slowly, as the years went on, and I was happy as a femboy in that identity, I became more like I became more sort of 50-50 as I moved out of my home and I could fully express myself, starting about 6-7 years ago. I was able to just, whenever I like, be whatever I felt like, and that kind of slowly turned the tide from being femboy to gender fluid, because I was finding that instead of just being a boy who sometimes presents in cute like femboy clothes, I was becoming someone who would at any time suddenly want to wear cute dresses and present in a female like stance. And you know, I started like full body shaving, so I like fully removed like all the body hair from me, and that's been a thing ever since. I don't have any body hair because I hate it. And
likewise,
yeah, it kind of
likewise.
Hell yeah, it kind of opened the door to kind of continue to explore and figure out who I was. And last year I formally dropped kind of the femboy tag or label and went gender fluid. And with that, because I was getting so comfortable of presenting female like in myself and how my body shows itself, I started taking HRT. So I'm almost I think I'm like 10 months in now on HRT, and
okay.
I now have I have A cups now. And some of my community will be able to vouch because they've seen them, not naked obviously, like you can through like a dress if I'm wearing a dress. And that really helps me identify with who I am. So if I'm female presenting, having, you know, the chest as well really helped me feel like I'm me, and I'm really, really happy with my progress. And this was a decision that I've been playing with for a couple of years, so it was like 2 years at least that I was playing with the idea of HRT, to kind of give me a body that can present more female when I feel like I'm female. And it took me a long time to make sure that this was the right decision for me, because you should never rush these decisions. No matter like if you feel like you need to go on HRT because you're younger, still don't rush that decision. It is a permanent life decision. You know, I will have a chest for the rest of my life now, but I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with who I am, and it makes me feel like I'm me. And it's something that I don't regret for a second, and I'm super happy with my progress, and I'm really, really glad I made the right decision. Because there was a time when I was first exploring the idea where I was like, is this really a good idea for me? Is this what I should be doing? And you know, as I came to sort of, when I was living away from home and I was just more being female and other times being male, I generally present more female most days than I do male. Like most days I present female. So I decided, you know, after years of thought and thinking about it and speaking to friends in the trans community and things, that this was the right thing for me, and I went for it, and I'm super happy I did. Yeah, it was a long journey of identifying who I was when I was in my like mid-20s, early 20s, to moving out from my house, allowing me to fully be who I am, and then being able to you know, fully express myself and figure out that, you know, gender fluidity is a better way to identify myself than saying I'm a femboy.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly, I think people will appreciate that additional detail about like how you kind of I guess reconcile the femboy title, because I think it's very common in VRChat. It's super common to like find like femboys, and like I think to kind of like you've had more time to kind of ruminate and figure out who you are, but the majority of people in VRChat are like in their 20s, you know, they're still pretty young, still kind of figure out who they are as people. So I'm actually very curious to find out like what your thoughts on VRChat are, but I'll ask you about that like in detail before we get to that, let's jump into like VRChat related stuff since we're kind of already there. How did you discover VRChat, and what's essentially kept you here?
This is a great question. So there was a content creator back, like I was just on the internet, like dead scrolling YouTube as you do, and I saw a video from someone who used to be called Joey Bagels. They now go by Nags21. They were a New York, like, they worked in like, you know, high-end investment banking or something like that. You know, they were a working professional who was super successful in their field. And they got into VRChat, and they made a YouTube series about, you know, this guy who has no relation to anything to do with nerd or geek culture, who's had a professional career all his life, playing VRChat. And it just made for such entertaining content, and it kind of just blew up. And from there, he over the years went full time, and he streams to this day. He literally was streaming earlier today. So and you know, he's been super successful. He's well known in the VTuber community. He's friends with, like, you know, the biggest tubers in the industry, and he's super successful. And you know, he gave up his high-end, high-flyer corporate lifestyle to be a content creator because he fell in love with that instead. And I have so much respect for that guy.
Wow. And
watching his videos and the adventures he went on in YouTube back in 2017 made me go, I want to do that. I want to find... Back then, you had the Lolly Squad, who were a well-known community in VRChat. He would hang out with the Lolly Squad, and they were kind of like his group of friends, and they'd go on adventures and do silly things. And it exposed me to the technology that was VR, because the fact that you could talk and your mouth moved blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, that's a thing! So I had to get involved, and I wanted to go on adventures and find friends and get involved in this community. And I wanted to find my Lolly Squad. I wanted to find my group and to hang out with and go on adventures with. And I jumped in and I started in desktop like everyone does. Made a group of friends like almost instantly, and I just went from there. I never looked back. Like the experiences I have here and the friendships I have, I've always been internet orientated. So, you know, I'm very extroverted in real life, and you know, I can talk to anyone about anything. And I've always had like sales facing roles in jobs. Like I've been an estate agent, you know, I've worked for BMW as a reservations agent. I worked in a bank as a clerk. I've always had front facing customer roles in my professional career because I'm great at talking to people. I'm super approachable. I'm super extroverted in that regard. I can get on with anyone regardless of who they are and their background. And it kind of like, although that was my work life, my personal life, I kind of like to have my own space. I'm not that, like, I'll go out over time and go and see friends and stuff, but generally I'll stay at home and do my own thing. And VRChat gave me the best of both worlds. It let me explore and have friends and be super extroverted, but not leave my house. It was great. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm all for this. And yeah, I just fell in love with VRChat and the entire concept of what it is and what it can do. And I was super optimistic for the future of the platform and VR in general, because, you know, this is when, you know, Meta were jumping on board and they were trying to make the metaverse. God, that was a disaster.
Yeah,
but
it was.
yeah, it was like a great time to be introduced to this world, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. Like, I will be here for as long as I can. So yeah, it started with watching a content creator to wanting to find my own group of friends, and I just never looked back.
All right. And, with regards to your time in VRChat, I imagine you probably had your first time experiences just like everyone else. Your mileage will vary on your initial experience and how you experienced VRChat for the first time. Do you remember what your first interactions, like, it doesn't have to be the very first ones, but like, compared to how you envisioned VRChat to be when you watched that content creator, what was it like actually for you when you first got here?
It was pretty much the same. So that, back in 2017 and 2018, the public face of VRChat was still emerging, and it was still like a growing community. And it was starting to get mainstream attention, especially from the Ugandan Knuckles meme. That was kind of what really started to make it take off. And it was kind of like, it was a different time. Like, the technology available back then was very different. Like, you didn't generally have people who could crash you in those days. And the full body tracking was like almost non-existent. Barely anyone had full body tracking. It was incredibly rare to see, and if you saw it, it was like a marvel. It was incredible. It blew your mind whenever you saw it.
It was so like how face tracking is now, or like how, I guess, what it was like maybe like 3 months ago, because now that blew up pretty quickly. So it was like what it was like 3 months ago, kind of thing. Yeah,
it's the same sort of thing. So generally, public lobbies were all you had back then. You didn't have like Friends Plus instances and private instances. They didn't exist back then. Every world was basically an open public world, as far as I recall. There was no trust ranking system on your account. Everyone was the same rank from day one. Everyone had a green border around their name, and over time that then changed to different colors as ranks were introduced. And it was just a different atmosphere, and people were just there to have fun and engage and hang out, and it kind of birthed all of the community you see today as they branched out into their own interests and grew their communities individually. And obviously, the face of them has changed over the years. Public instances, I literally yesterday was streaming and I went into a public instance. I immediately had to leave 2 of them due to the kind of things that were taking place in them. Well, it's more what was being said.
Yeah.
And, that stuff didn't really happen back in 2017, 2018. But, times change, and the accessibility of VR has become more family-friendly to the household. So there are younger audiences who now have access to it. Whereas back in the day, it was like, you either played on desktop and you had a genuine like love for the game and the community, so you were like a contributor to it, or you had VR, so you had like, you were an adult and you had lots of money. But as the technology's advanced and it's become cheaper and more accessible to the public market, the MetaQuest, being a great example, has given an audience of the younger generations access to this medium, which it's good to have the younger generations involved in virtual reality. That's super important for longevity of future generations. But obviously with that you get the downsides of the maturity level does drop, and it changes the atmosphere around you, and the interactions you have in public. You can still have amazing interactions in public lobbies, and we all started in publics in one way or another, but it is definitely harder than it used to be back in the day to make it a core group of friends who are not obnoxious, racist, or really young children, etc. But there's no answer to that. There's no way to really fix that as such. But the VR community is continuing to grow. I mean, statistically, the numbers of concurrent players is always growing year on year, even month on month. And it is one of the biggest communities like in the world for a game. Like, it is huge. much larger than people realize. Like in Japan, South Korea, etc., the Asian countries, VR is much more widely accepted and is way more known in the mainstream. It's the West that's actually far behind in that regard. So, VCAT Virtual Market, they have they work so hard to bring English versions of their work to the West because they want to see the West expand like the East has. The East is super advanced when it comes to VR, and their communities, they have some of the largest queue instances ever in VR. I can't remember what it was, but a couple months ago they had an instance that had the longest queue to join it ever in the history of VR, and it was in Japan. And there is this barrier between England and English and Japanese, and VRChat, they do want to break down that barrier eventually. And we do have access now to OSC integrations that allow real-time translation of our voices into voice boxes above us. So we are making advancements to break those barriers down because the community is so large on that side. And yeah, I'd love to see it expand on our side as well.
All right, so with regards to like how things were back in the day, like back when you first started compared to now, you've mentioned like just how the atmosphere has changed and from because it's just more people are here. It's become more family friendly. Like how what version of VRChat? Like some people have said like the golden age was like back in the Uganda Knuckles era. Do you have that sense of like that period of time being the golden age, or do you feel like every year is perhaps like a new golden age for VRChat because it's continually growing? There's more people being exposed to it, as you said. The Japanese scene is very, very large, and it's growing in the West also. So do you think that this is a time right now, this is like the best time to be in VR, or do you think that perhaps because of how authentic things were back then, do you think the old times were better compared to now?
I think the new times are better now. I mean, we do have the golden years that we enjoy, but everyone will have their golden years. So when you're first introduced to this technology and you get involved in this community, it will be fresh to you and super exciting and super like, oh my god, this is incredible, I've never seen anything like this, everyone's amazing and I love it, and they will be your golden years. So if someone joins today, 5 years from now, today would have been their golden year, because it would have been the best times that they experienced, because it was all fresh and new and engaging and super like interesting. And as you get normalized to something, that excitement and that passion and that initial like wow factor fades away, and you never get that back. And people chase that feeling again. They chase it and they can never replicate it. You never will. So they will always be your golden years and the times that you remember most fondly as being, quote, the best. The public eye VRChat was much more positive back then. There was a lot less stigmas about the community, and there was a lot less drama going on in those days. Everyone was there just to fuck about, to be honest. And it was just a laugh. Everyone was just there to just have a laugh. But the advancements have allowed us to now have incredible communities that we didn't have back then, and we didn't have the ability to compensate for. So we didn't really have nightclubs, we didn't have live DJ performances, we didn't have OSC integration in really any form. Arguably, some people disagree. We didn't have access to SPS, etc., which allows long distance relationships to have that intimacy that is super important to them. And I think that's genuinely a good thing. I really think that's a good thing for people to be able to have that relationship long distance. I think that's a positive thing for them. We didn't have access to massive communities that came together to support each other, like Trans Academy, for example. We didn't have dancing crews like VR dancing. Now is one of the best times to be in VRChat for me personally, I feel. Although they're not the golden days and things have changed since then, I don't think that today is bad. I think today is better than ever. because we have so much more available to us, and we're showing the capabilities and the advancements of VR in a global sense, like globally, and that will continue to improve, and we will have access to more things and more advanced technology. And you know, this is a constantly evolving market and industry, and for us to be the front runners and leaders and innovators of it is really, really cool. So I think now is better than any time there's ever been.
All right. Yeah, that's a great answer. So I know you mentioned that you recently went to a public and you had to leave two publics because of the things that were being said in those situations. And that was mainly due to the proliferation of a lot of younger players on the platform. So I'm curious as to like basically how your experience as someone who is categorically older, we'll say, than the majority of we'll say the majority of VRChat players. How is your do you find that your experience is hindered or still kind of like this? I wouldn't say the same as everyone else's, but do you find that you being older is a hindrance to you kind of integrating with how people generally are in VRChat, or do you have no problem with kind of just blending in and nobody knows you're one of the 20 somethings kind of thing? Like what is your experience in VRChat like as someone who's an older player?
Yeah, it's basically the same. Like people just treat me the same. I think it's mainly because I don't present as like an almost 40-year-old. Like I am young at heart. I'm mentally stupid. Like I have the mentality of like a child. So that's done well for me. But I'm always super honest and transparent about my age. Like my age has never been a secret, and I think it's very important that it's not. Because people may not feel comfortable being around or in the presence of someone who's significantly older than them. Because like, okay, if you think of it this way, if someone's 18 and they're playing this game, I am over twice their age, which that's wild. So I think it's I have a responsibility to be open and honest with people because they may not feel comfortable speaking to someone who's much older than them. And I totally get and respect that. It's not really ever happened, to be fair. No one's ever really cared about my age. Everyone just looks at my age as just a number. I'm just older than everyone. But no one really bats an eyelid. They obviously they appreciate the honesty, but it doesn't affect their their kind of interaction with me in any way. So yeah, it's never really been a problem, to be honest.
Not even for you personally. Like it's been just. I mean, you said I know you said you have a childlike mindset. So even for you personally, it's just never like you never had an issue with it. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, there are certain
like your own perspective.
Mature. Yeah, from my own perspective, yeah. There are, I won't get on with every group, and generally, my youngest friends that I know or content creators I know are usually in their early 20s. I don't really know many or any sort of like 18, 19-year-olds and things like that, and I'm not really interested in being friends with anyone who's younger than that because that's a little bit weird. So as you can understand.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do have a lot of viewers and I do have community members and people I interact with who are under 18. But that's fine. They're just viewers of my content and they just like what I do, and that's totally fine. I can't police that or stop them from watching that. And my content isn't adult orientated. Like I moved away from that sort of content 2 years ago, and I have no immediate plans to ever go back to it. So we kind of I feel like my content is sort of 16 plus as kind of like a baseline. But generally, my friends that I hang around with on a personal level are usually, at least in their early 20s. And I think that helps with kind of like, although I am like childish in nature, I'm sitting down right now, for example, and I'm having like a very in-depth and detailed conversation like an adult. So, I feel like I need to be around people who have a maturity to them as well. I don't want to be associating with people who are like, very immature and you know, saying edgy, inappropriate jokes because it's funny, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, generally, I personally don't have a problem with the younger player set because, you know, they're all around me, they're everywhere. But generally, my closer friends are, you know, of a more mature standing, which is understandable for someone at my age.
Yeah, that's fair. That's pretty reasonable. Yeah. So, with regards to, you know, the fact that VRChat has been rated by the ESRB as, you know, 13 up, you know, T for teen. And we've kind of talked about the different atmospheres, different kind of crowds that are being drawn into VRChat these days. How do you feel about like VRChat's approach to, you know, handling you know, people who are younger in age, and the ways they've done to combat that, or maybe things that maybe they haven't done to combat that? What are your opinions about that?
It's tough. So, you know, VRChat is just like anything else on the internet. Like, it's impossible to police everything perfectly. You know, like, it's the equivalent of trying to get someone to police Discord. Like, how do you police that properly? You can't. It's just like any other medium on the internet, and there's only so much you can do to, you know, safeguard children, and keep them away from individuals that, you know, could be out for malicious intent. It's very difficult, and that's the same in any community or platform on the internet. And there was never going to be like a universal answer solution to this. I do feel that age verification is huge and makes a massive difference to this, and it kind of like categorically sets the line of these are adults and these are adults who are hanging out with each other, and that's like everyone's on the same page. And it also means that you know, it creates a kind of a separation between like the 18 plus and the younger players. So it's nice that we now have kind of that segregation available to us. Obviously, you know, nothing's ever foolproof, and, you know, people may you know, they may be they may present quite young but be much older than they are, or they may be older and the other way around. You know, it's kind of just one of those things, unfortunately. But I do think age verification's been massive. I think if it rolls out universally for everyone outside VRChat Plus, that's going to be huge. So I think it's one of those things that's very hard to get right. But I think age verification is massive for trying to do the right thing. But ultimately, there will never be a universal correct way to do it, because it just isn't. It's impossible. Just as policing anything else or any other community on the internet is nigh on possible. So, yeah, I think they've done well with like the updates that have come out in the last couple of months, like the dolly system for the camera, face tracking now. I was using that on stream today. Awesome. So desktop users are now almost like semi-VR users, which is incredible. It's so good to see this tech. The advancements that the development team have made in VRChat in the last sort of 6 months has been absolutely incredible. And they're really pushing everything forward. And age verification is one of those things as well. So yeah, I think they're doing quite well. And I think, you know, there's always going to be problems of people who are here for malicious intent, but there's not really much you can do to fix that. Those people will be around in every community, and it's just a part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Like there will all, like, no matter where you go on the internet, there will be people who, you know, younger people who will just say, "Are you over 18?" Yep. I mean, this was happening before, like, the internet was even like a very as established as it is now. So yeah, so like, it's just gonna happen. It's inevitable. So I do agree that the age verification is like a massive improvement. Obviously, it's not foolproof, but yeah, it's great. Everyone, it's a big W. We'll say.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like as well, you know, some people are complaining like, oh, I don't want to give my details to X individual companies, etc. My argument for this is your information is all over the internet, and if a hacker wants it, they will have it. So you know, I know it's a case of you shouldn't leave your front door open, but ultimately your window's already open. So like, for me, it's just like a no-brainer. Anyone could ring my energy supplier, pretend to be me, get my mobile number, spoof my phone, and take all my accounts. Anyone can do that to anyone. within a matter of hours. Like, no one is safe ever from anything, and you just have to come to terms and accept that. So yeah, I feel I appreciate and I understand why people make the argument that they don't trust giving their information out to another party, like especially sensitive information such as a passport or driving license, etc. But ultimately, someone's going to take it if they want it. You know, people can hack the Pentagon. People, like, my information's been stolen more times than I care to count from, you know, our National Health Service. We that got hacked like last year, and you know, I guarantee you all my information was stolen. So you know, someone already has everything on me. It makes no difference. So
Yeah, and just go with it. You know, spend the money on VRC Plus, and you know, grab the gratification. It's, you know, it is what it is. And like, you know, VRC has been very they've been very transparent about what they are keeping, what they're not keeping, data wise. So, you know, what I think what matters is that the company itself, VRChat, is not keeping, you know, our personal data.
Well, VRChat never actually directly gets access to the information anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the third party company that processes the identification.
Exactly.
They just pass along the core info of the date of birth and that it's confirmed. That's it. So, yeah, VRChat never even see your information.
Right, exactly. And then and they're very transparent about that. So like, people who may be confused about that, they just haven't read. They just haven't read. They're not reading. So yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What's one thing about VRChat that you wish could improve, and what is one thing about VRChat that you absolutely love that is not the community?
Improvements? I mean, now that we've got like the face tracking on like desktop, I'm using this as a hybrid thing to VTube from. So I had my first VTuber stream in this avatar, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I really hope that they continue to advance that technology. Obviously, they haven't made it for people like me to become a VTuber with it, so they're not going to cater to me specifically. But you know, I'd love them to advance it to, like, you know, if I had the blend shapes for my tongue to stick out, I want my avatar to go there and stick its tongue out. Because at the moment, it's just blinky eyes and your mouth moves. It doesn't. Your emotes don't work, so you can't. If you smile, your avatar doesn't smile. If you open your eyes wide, it doesn't look shocked, etc. So I really hope they integrate that in the future and continue to advance this tech. So that I'm super excited for. So I really hope they continue to improve that. Everything else I'm kind of happy with, to be honest. You know, there's always limitations in what's possible in the VR space at the moment, like optimization of things, and you know, generally that comes down to the user and the world they've created or the avatar that you're wearing. So it's kind of out of VRChat's hands. They don't really have much control over that, so it's not really for them to fix, obviously. And you know, as graphics cards and CPUs and GPUs get faster and higher performance, that slowly helps this technology become, you know, easier to use and manage, and people will get better frame rates because, you know, currently I'm rocking about 25 frames, and that's really good for me. Like, generally, if I've got above 10, I'm doing all right. So I'm used to being a low frame Andy in VRChat. But my PC's a that's kind of why. As far as the favorite thing about VRChat outside the community would be the friends I've made. So it's my friends, the people that I can, they're my shoulder to cry on. They're my support. They're the people I play games with. They are, you know, they're as close to me as any real life friend could ever be, and they mean just as much, and they are the most important people in the world to me. So yeah, outside of community, it would be the friends I've made here, and having a place where I belong.
Okay. Well, we're gonna continue to talk about VRChat. So, with regards to that, I want to ask, what have you, has VRChat affected you in a way or helped you to realize something about yourself that perhaps you didn't have knowledge of yourself in the past. Because, you know, there are many people who have, you know, figured out, I am an egg, and, you know, they spend time in VRChat and they figure that stuff about this. I'm not saying that applies to you. That's just an example. But, like, yeah, has VRChat done anything like that for you? Have you had any sort of experience like that? The platform has really, you know, affected you, like, in your, like, not just here in VRChat, but also, like, in your actual real life?
Yeah, I would say it's had a little bit of an impact. Most of it's just been natural for me as time's gone on. You know, being in the cosplay community allowed me to initially explore my femininity and the femboy side of me. And then VRChat's kind of helped a little bit with that, but I was already in a position where I kind of had everything figured out mostly. I was just more female presenting. But yeah, it's just the community's super accepting here. Like no one cares what you are. You could be anything, and everyone's super welcoming, and that's one of the special traits of this community. Because we are heavily internet based. The internet based community is generally very open to LGBT plus, and allowing people to just be who they are and not care, which is really cool. And I feel like that's why I vibe with this community so well. Like, I feel like a part of it so intimately, because they are so accepting of me regardless of who I am. And yeah, it's super chill. So I feel like it just made it more kind of not acceptable, but like it was just like no one really cares. Like, you can identify how you like and be who you want, and people would be like, oh, that's cool. You know, there's no drama to attach to it. So it kind of just gave me a platform that was super supportive of me exploring who I was further. But it didn't really change my journey or influence it in a way, I would say. But I know it has for many. It has for people. Like, especially with the trans community, it's allowed people to, you know, express themselves in the way they feel, and allow them to kind of come to terms with who they are, and figure out who that is, and then move forward and be happy being that person, which is a really beautiful thing.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. So, my next question is, what a lot of people spend a lot of time in VRChat. There's a lot of people who spend a significant amount of time in VRChat, we'll say. So, for you, do you consider VRChat akin to a second life of sorts, or is it just, you know, a platform that you use to essentially, you know, make a living off of, and, you know, hang out with your friends in?
It depends on the individual. So it depends on, like, how invested you are in it. Hold on, I mean, my bad.
It's alright.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, cool. I told you I'd move around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just down to the individual and how much they use the platform and how they perceive it. For me, this is my world. This is everything to me. This is my entire life. I've committed my entire life to this right now. I turned down a life-changing opportunity as a job. I could have been making 80k a year, driving a nice car, living in a nice house. You know, never worry about money again for the rest of my life. Or I could be enveloped in the VRChat community and my streamer community and my friends, and be truly happy with who I am. And I feel like I made the right choice. I may not, you know, live in a mansion, and, you know, I'm not driving a Mustang, but I couldn't be happier. I'm truly happy with the life I have, and I'm eternally grateful for the things I've been given. You know, the projects I do, like the talk show and the award show, are to give back to the community that gave me everything. That's super important to me, to kind of pay it forward. So for me, this is my world. This is arguably more important to me. This is more important to me than the real world is. And I never want to see that change. I never want to be anywhere else, if I'm honest. So yeah, it's down to the individual. I mean, some people be like, yeah, it's just a platform that I hang out in and talk to my friends. It's kind of like playing a game. Like, it's no different than playing COD. You just play a game and hang out and have fun. And for other people, it's way more than that. It is, you know, for some people, it's their family, their support, it's their encouragement. It is their ability to communicate with people if they're shy and can't do it in real life. It's just so accessible to everyone to give them opportunities that they may not have in the real world, and I think that's really special. So yeah, for me, it is more than that. It is my life. Some people would argue that that's unhealthy. I mean, there is an argument to be made there, and I appreciate that. But I am living a life that makes me really happy, and as long as you're happy in your life, you're not hurting people, do what makes you happy.
That was a really, really fine answer, you know, with you know, just how you perceive VRChat in that way. Like, it is basically your main home. It's where you belong. It's where you find, I guess, most fulfillment in, as opposed to real life. And you did mention that you know, some people perceive it as a game of sorts. I'm curious. I always ask my guests something along these lines, but how do you perceive VRChat? And has this changed from when you first got into VRChat? Is it to you a game, or is it a social platform? Like, how would you perceive VRChat from your personal perspective? And has that changed over the years?
Yeah, initially I thought it was a game, like when I first got into it and was just exploring, and everything was carnage, and public lobbies were just wild and so much fun. It felt like a game. But you know, as I became more integrated into the community and I started to make connections here and friendships and be so intertwined into everything, it kind of became a social platform for me. Like, the whole point of this game, like, is to chat, to make friends, to talk to people, to explore, to experience things that we may not be able to experience in the real world. And yeah, for me, it's now a social platform. I mean, I don't know technically if it is classed as a game or what it's technically called, but yeah, in my opinion, I call it a social platform. But it used to be a game back when I didn't take it as serious.
And for you, what does it mean to, I guess, take VRChat more seriously? Like, how do you define that for you nowadays?
Like, just all the decisions I've made over my life, like becoming a full-time content creator, initially in VRChat, and you know, it will always be a part of me, like VRChat as a content creator. And it's where I hang out with my friends, and it's where I like to, you know, be. And I don't see any different than going out, being friends in real life. Like, this is kind of the same sort of concept to me now. So yeah, that's kind of why I think it's more of a social platform for me now, because it's like where I come and hang out with my friends and chill out and chat and do things. So yeah, the game side of it's not really there as much for me anymore. As you know, I don't jump in to play games as such in VRChat. I come in to talk to my friends as well, basically.
Gotcha. So a couple more questions regarding VRChat for you. Do you have fandom sense?
No, I don't. I do have this one thing that's really weird. So, if people pat my head in just the right way, like in a very specific way, it will like make the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end, and I'll shudder. You know, like when you get a shut up your spine, that kind of feeling. It's really weird. It's hard to explain. I do get that, but I don't feel like I can physically feel the touch of someone. Like, I've never had that experience. So I also don't like it if people touch my tail. Like, this is like a really weird thing. It's not like I can feel it, but I get this feeling like, you know, when you are at the bottom of the stairs and it's nighttime and you turn the light off and run up the stairs because you think something's like chasing you, and you're like, it's hard to explain. That's what it feels like when people touch my tail. I don't like it. I don't like it when people touch my tail. It's just a really weird thing. But apart from that, no actual phantom sense as such. But like, sometimes my body go for certain reasons, depending on out my head or touch my. It's weird. I do get vertigo if I look over, like if I'm on the edge of a skyscraper and I look over the edge, I will go whoa, and my brain will go danger, edge, vertigo, whoa. So that also happens, which is weird, really weird. It can also trigger my fear. So I have a fear of deep open water. I'm sitting on my wire. It's really good. Deep open water. So if you've ever been to Deep Blue, super famous like open beach map. Oh God, where have I gone? There we go. Yeah, if you've ever been to the beach map, Deep Blue, I literally had like a semi panic attack, and live on stream actually this happened. This was a long time ago. I swam out, and there's like a point where the beach, like where the water and the land kind of go further down, and then it just drops off a cliff, and it's just open water. And swimming up to that edge just instilled an absolute panic in me, and I had to go back to land. Like I had to go and sit on the shore and calm down, because it's like, so it's really interesting that VR can make your brain act that way. That's absolutely wild to me.
Yeah.
Like standing on the edge of a building or being in open water makes me like it genuinely like triggers my panic. And it's like, I know it's not real. I know that this thing is not real in front of me. It is, nothing here can harm me in any way, but it still invokes that panic in me, which is wild. I don't get it. I really don't understand why it happens, but it just does. So yeah, they're kind of my like semi-physical kind of experiences with VR, but on a like, you know, base level phantom sense, if you punch me I feel it or anything, no, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, I have something similar too. Like I have fear of white spaces. So completely black, completely white kind of things.
Yeah.
I knew I had that, sort of, but VRChat really made that apparent to me myself. So.
Yeah, you've probably seen a few.
Yeah. I don't enjoy being jump scared by completely just dark, empty areas, and a lot of worlds start off like that. So it's not really fun.
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah. That's gotta suck.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that you kind of like work through, because like I've been on VRChat for almost 3 years now, so you kind of learn to work through it, but it's still just not a good time. But yeah, I definitely understand. So how do you like? What are your hopes for VR technology? Like, what do you you've been with the technology for quite some time. You've been on VRChat for a long time. Let's say it's been like something like what, like 8 years, almost 8 years now, that you've been on VRChat.
8 years in November.
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah. So
just over 7 at the moment.
Right. So how do you what do you hope that VR will go? Not just in terms of VRChat, but just in terms of the technology as a whole. Where do you where you hope for it goes?
I want it to kind of advance like it has in Japan. Like I want it to be like mainstream and super like accepted by the mainstream society. So like most family households have a game console in them. Most family households should have a VR headset in them. I think there's huge capabilities for this technology to continue to improve, not just on like a personal, social, and fun interactive basis, but on a people are starting to use this technology to teach surgeons how to do complex surgeries, and they're using it to train car mechanics on how to fix cars without having to have an entire workshop and have a car from disassemble. Military training. Military is very controversial, but the technology is being used to train soldiers. Airplane. What are they called? Pilots. Yeah, pilots. Those people. Pilots are being taught how to fly planes in VR. So the application of virtual reality on a wide scale for many industries is huge and consistently growing and evolving. And I think that's a really, really cool thing to see. Eventually I think we'll get to a point where VR headsets like this are a thing of the past, and we go augmented with like something as small as just a pair of glasses. your face. And I think, that may not be in my lifetime, but I feel that we will get there eventually, and that will just become a normal part of society. Like, people will just walk down the street with like a pair of glasses on. I mean, they've already made some of them, but they're janky and they're fat and they're just not very good. But it's the starting platform to build on, and we'll have that in the future. So I think it will continue to consistently evolve and become more advanced. And people speak about having the ability to, quote, deep dive, where you can go into an unconscious state and you are fully in the game in your consciousness. I feel that is potentially possible, but not in our lifetime. I don't think that's going to happen in our lifetime. There's going to be so many risks and so many caveats, and there's so many dangers to that, because you can use that technology to build a game, but you can also use that technology to train or indoctrinate someone into a cult, or to be an extremist in something, or to commit acts of terror. So it also has incredibly negative potential uses in that regard, so it can be very dangerous. I think that there will be massive arguments about whether that technology should even be produced. Eventually someone will do it, whether it's legal to or not. Someone's going to build it. But what that looks like is yet to be seen. But it will be a very powerful and dangerous when it exists. Just not in our lifetime, I think. I think there's huge scope for VR as a general platform and concept to expand massively. And, Batman Arkham Asylum in VR has had like over 1 million downloads. So, VR titles are starting to get into the multi-million download level. So the community is consistently growing, and more people are getting involved and accepting VR as just part of normal tech these days, which has taken a very long time to get to. Because the accessibility was so difficult in the first instance, and it's very expensive, but now it's way more open. So I'm very optimistic for the future of VR on a whole, just globally across multiple industries, not just virtual reality, and VRChat today. But I do hope VRChat continues to grow and expand, and that the Western market become more involved in VR like the Japanese market have. Like, I'd love to see them reach the same level, and VRCAT have the same vision. VRCAT, like, they worked with me on the VR Community Awards because they have the same vision of what we want to see. We want to see the West have a platform to see all this technology and then get involved and help it grow. So,
Yeah. I mean, every tool that it's created can be used for ill. It's a given. No matter what the technology is, it can always be used for good or not for good. So hopefully, there'll be precautions put in place. If and when that sort of thing happens, we'll have to just kind of wait and see how that goes. But yeah, it's good to get your perspective on what your hopes and dreams for the future of VR could potentially look like. What is your opinion on the creator economy in VRChat, and what are your, maybe if you have any thoughts or hopes about it, its evolution? Do you have any opinions on that?
I've said this to a couple of friends once, but I've never really talked much about VRChat's internal creator economy and things like that. VRChat ultimately has bills to pay. And I don't even want to fathom what their server costs and things are. Obviously, they had the massive layoffs. What was that, like 2 years ago? 2 years ago?
It feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And they've had to cut back because the longevity of the financials for the company weren't looking that great at the time. I think the new sort of tech that they've put in with VRChat Plus, with like the dolly system, and now having the ability to basically be in VR in desktop, will incentivize more people to actually buy that and help the longevity and stabilization of VRChat. Because they don't have like major company investments like they first did back in like 2017, when everyone was investing in VR and it was like the new tech and it was like a huge thing. But oh god, I can't remember what was the question. I told you I might go off on a tangent and kind of lose my place.
No worries.
I was going somewhere though.
Yeah. Your thoughts on the creator economy And
that was it. So the creator economy. I'm sorry. So the creator economy on live. I think it's a good start, but obviously people have better ways to make money in VRChat, so it's not widely. It is. People have made complaints about, that they don't get as much of a cut if they use other rival platforms that, sell their products, their assets, their avatars, etc. And VRChat has broken down why that is the way it is, and I understand, and it makes perfect sense. And that is just the nature of the fact. There is nothing they can really do much to change that, and I get it. I've always said, and I don't think it's possible, and I don't know logistically how they would do it, but if they could make their own platform like Booth or Gun Mode, that VRChat creators could just put their avatars and their worlds and all these things on, then people would be able to get a higher profit margin, and it would bring Gun Mode and Booth together as one place. And potentially that could knock both of them out, and that would then become the mainstream thing that kind of holds the entire VRChat economy. I know that's in a perfect world, but I don't logistically see that happening. I don't think it will ever happen, but I think that would be game changing financially for VRChat and its stability for many years to come, because they would have total monopoly of the creator economy, which is it's a multi-million pound in this point. It's massive. So they are losing out millions and millions of pounds every year to people using other platforms like Patreon, Booth, etc. Because they are just better options for the creator, and they're more accessible and easy to use for the purchaser. So it's much easier for people to just go onto Booth and see a list of the avatars that they search for. We don't really have that kind of search function for the creator economy, where we can just look at some avatars and then buy one instantly. It's kind of it doesn't really work that way. So that would be what I would love to see happen, because I think that would be really, really good for VRChat as a whole. Obviously, the more money they have injected into it, the better the technology will become, the further it will advance. And it also, gives stability for the projects to, we may get to a point where VRChat in 5 years' time, they could run out of money. VRChat literally just crumbles and we lose everything. That is a real thing that people never think about. Mm-hmm. That could happen. That's a realistic possibility. And, everything that we know, all the friends that we hang out with, all the interactions we have in VRChat could be gone overnight. We could lose everything. So, supporting the VRChat economy to kind of, have a monopoly on the creators is super important, but logistically very hard. Because there's all this money flying around and none of it goes to VRChat. So they are struggling to monetize or incentivize people to spend money. We have VRChat Plus, but that's about it. There's not really much else there, because people are not using the internal market. I don't know a single friend who has any credits in VRChat, and that sums up the problem straight away. It's a great concept, and I love the idea, and it works for many other platforms like Roblox, or internal asset purchases for games like League of Legends to buy new outfits and stuff. But because there's all these third parties dealing with all the transactions, it just takes all the money away from them, and that is a real problem that people don't actually understand.
Yeah. I mean, there are still people who are very much they experience VRChat. They go to these events. They go to people are doing DJ events, and they go to all these raves and these performances that go on in VRChat, and they still are reluctant to give them $10 a month. And that kind of blows my mind, that they reap the benefits of the creative experiences that are had on this platform, the freedom that they have to express themselves on this platform, but they're still very reluctant to just let me help keep this thing alive. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's like ultimately it's not my place to tell people how
of course
and where they should spend their money. But I have a lot of respect for those who do support VRChat. It's the same way as people support me as a VTuber. You know, people give me money, etc., so that I can continue to do this full time and create, you know, amazing projects like the VR community. It's because they invest in me and make it possible. So in the same light, I feel like people should invest in VRChat, but they kind of look at it as like a disassociated corporate company because you know, we don't personally know the development team. We don't hang out with them. You know, it is just like a normal game development company. And so people have this disassociation with it. They think, oh, it's a big corpo with lots of money. We don't need to give them anything. Like, realistically, no, they are no different to me as a VTuber. They need support and investment in order to create, make more things and do more stuff. And without any investment, they no longer exist. So they are no different to me. So I like it when people support them, but it's not my place to, you know, have a chip on my shoulder for people who don't. But I just wish that they would do what is arguably the right thing.
Okay, all right. So I think we've covered a lot of aspects of VRChat, and I'm actually looking to jump into talking about kind of the meat and potatoes of what makes you, what you've done recently, which is the VR Community Awards. So we can talk about that for a little bit of time because I'm excited to get into that as well. So how did you get that gig? How did you what went down? How did that go down? Obviously, I know it wasn't it's not affiliated with VRChat directly. I know you mentioned that at the very start of the show. So so how was that all put together? It was just held on VRChat or inside VRChat. So how did that all come about, and what kind of got all that started? And how'd you get that gig?
I initially I've been thinking like we don't have an award show in VRChat, and I don't know why. And I feel like this could add a lot to the community. Like this could be a really positive thing for us. And I just wanted to, I always do, it always turns out that I do stupid little things that absolutely just blow up and become way more than I anticipated, and this is a perfect example of that. So I was like, hey guys, I'm going to make a stupid little award show, and it's going to be fun, and we'll just have a laugh. But before I did that, I thought I should probably ask the dev if that's okay, because I felt like I might be crossing a line with that. I don't know how they'd feel. So I reached out to Topper, and Topper put me in touch with VRPill, and we had a chat, and he was like, we can't be involved on a personal level, we can't be associated to you because you're an independent third party, but you have our blessing and we wish you luck. And that was kind of the green light for me to go for it. Then I pitched the idea publicly, and it just exploded. I was like, oh no, now I have to really dedicate myself to this for the next year. And it just kind of just went from there. It was never intended to be what it ended up being. And I actually say this on the show. At the start, I say, this was never meant to be what it actually now is. And this was way outside my initial scope of what I wanted to do. And it cost me way more money and way more time than I'd ever anticipated. Because I didn't expect it to get the reception it did and the support from the community, and everyone really wanted to see something big and flashy, and I felt like I've been given the opportunity by the community and they trust me to do this, so I need to do them justice. I need to make them proud. So I sank my heart and soul into it for an entire year at that point. From February last year up until this February when we did the live show, that was when I initially spoke to Topper and VRPill, and then I just got underway, just started from square one and put a team together, started speaking to VCAT and our associates like VR Dancing and Project Community and Trans Academy and all those great groups. And it was just a steady progression over the year as we built up from there. So it was just a case of I want to do a fun little stupid thing, but then it became a super serious big thing. And yeah, so it kind of just manifested itself, and I'm incredibly like humbled and happy that the community trusted me with this like major project. But at the same time, it was like, if I'd known it had been like this costly and time consuming for me, I would have tried to approach it in a very different way. Like, we would have tried to have like way more support from the community in funding or sponsor acquisition and things like that. But lessons learned. Lessons learned. So yeah, it was just a dumb idea, and I just pitched it to some people, and then the public got hold of it, and it just went from there.
I see. So, you mentioned how costly it was. Can you tell us a little bit about like where that money went, and exactly how how costly that was?
I don't have an exact figure, as I haven't like pulled everything, but my tax man's gonna have to know at some point, so I will have to figure it out exactly. But you know, we had to pay for everything. So you know, the world to be built, the trophy to be designed and then built. So we had the Unity trophy we gave out to the winners, and world. The VRCAT booth, you know, we had to have the VRCAT booth designed and built because we had a booth at VRCAT at summer and winter. The website, the transitions, the starting soon screen, Smolashino's introduction video, the logo design, the logo animation, the posters, the promotional videos, the licenses. So, you know, having the camera system implemented by Mixie, I had to buy her the licenses in Unity so that the world could be transferred over to her from the world creator. So, you know, there were a multitude of hidden costs that I didn't anticipate that came from left, right, and center, and it all quickly added up. And you know, I mean, the website alone cost about $500, and I had to manage and maintain that myself. So I did most of the work myself to keep costs down. I haven't done all the figures, but I reckon it's easy over $5,000 for the show. Probably more than that. But I don't have a definitive figure, but it was a lot more than I intended to spend. And, you know, realistically, it should have been more than that. So a lot of the team who were involved, you know, like, we had to pay for the camera system to be implemented. I had to pay for the stage director to control OBS. I still owe money. Like, I've still got a couple of bills I'm paying off from the awards because I'm financially ruined right now.
Yeah.
Well, I've still got to pay off the technical manager for, you know, all the help with the technical items that we had issues with, because they were kind of like the guru of when, like, a skybox wouldn't work correctly or whatever. You know, they would come in and fix it. They were just a genius. Shout out to Luna. And yeah, it all just mounted up very quickly over the course of the year, and there were just consistent costs coming left, right, and center that I just didn't anticipate. But I was committed at that point, and I couldn't not continue the project, so I just had to swallow it and foot the bill. And I just scraped by. So yesterday, I was streaming, and as a joke, we checked my bank account. I had £9 to my name yesterday.
Holy shit!
So this cost me everything, and I don't regret it for a second. I did something that I'm so proud of, and the community were incredible, and everyone really enjoyed it, and it's one of the proudest moments of my life that I will never ever forget that. But it did financially ruin me. You know, I had to stop streaming for 2 months in the run-up to the show because I was just full-time. I had to, you know, do the 96 nominee segments of the videos. I had to put all the videos together. I had to speak to all the 96 nominees and coordinate them and get the acceptance and Q&A and run the website and do, you know, all that stuff. So it swallowed 2 months of income as well because I wasn't working. I wasn't streaming. So yeah, it technically would have cost me more than $5,000 because I lost thousands for not streaming during that time. But my community rallied like when we looked at my bank account on stream and we were like, oh, that's a problem. My community just came out of nowhere, and they've given me a safety net. So they absolutely saved my ass yesterday, and I'm eternally grateful. Which I never expected. Like, I didn't ever expect to have to give me something back for this. But I'm eternally grateful that you know, I can pay my energy bill and buy groceries right now. So I'm very fortunate in the position I'm now in, because I'm certainly grateful. But yeah, it goes to show that this, like, people think we had like a lot of funding and we had a big production team working with us. There was just 5 of us. It was just a team of 5 who did this, and you know, most of the work fell to me. I did about 12 different roles in production. I did the video editing, the audio mixing, the script writing, the storyboarding, the obviously project managing everyone with everything. So the world creation, the trophy creation, you know, all that sort of thing. Sourcing the logo and getting that commissioned. Working with Smoloshino on the introduction video. Speaking to all the nominees, researching them, finding out about hundreds of worlds and avatars and all that sort of stuff. And you know, a lot of the team took way less payment than they should have. So shout out to Fulski especially. You know, he did me a really good deal on the world. He saved, like, we wouldn't have been able to, if we had to pay everyone full whack for everything, this project just wouldn't have happened. I would have run out of money like early days. So, you know, realistically, this should have cost 5 figures, but we managed to do it in about 5 grand, which is so. Next year is going to be a different story. It will blow way over 5 figures because of all the advancements and things we need to do, and everyone should be paid properly for their time. That's so important.
Right.
Everyone should be paid. Like, that's a personal thing for me. Anyone who works in this project is paid. That we don't have any volunteers. That's universal for me, and that supports this economy, and it supports VRChat. And you know, I want people to be reimbursed accordingly for the sacrifices they've made to make this show possible and to make a difference in the community. So and paying them properly is one of my kind of major things for next year. Like, you know, I want Fulski to be paid the correct amount for building the world. I want the Mixie to be paid more for doing all of their work, and all the video editors and all these things. So yeah, it's going to cost an astronomical sum next year. We don't know exactly what yet, but you know, we've taken a little break right now, so we'll figure it out later. But yeah, it cost me everything in a nutshell. I always think of that meme, you know, where Thanos like snaps his fingers and then he sees his daughter, and she's like, "What did it cost you?" And he's like, "Everything." I feel like Thanos.
Wow.
I literally feel like Thanos right now.
Yeah, that's just real talk. Like, I appreciate knowing that, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that and really comprehend, you know, the sacrifice that was made on your end. Like, how difficult was it to put together a team, and how did you kind of, I guess for the time being, like, for it being your first time, how did you know, like, what would be the best kind of team to build, like the people to reach out to, the kind of people that you wanted to help you on this, and how did you kind of like know, okay, I need someone for this, I need someone for that? How did you kind of figure all that out?
It just came naturally, like, as I was talking to friends. So I'm a member of a group called the VRCAs. It's like a very small, close-knit community of friends, and they're all kind of different in their own ways. Some of us are content creators, like myself. Some of them are world creators, avatar makers, asset creators. You know, they do all sorts of different things. One of them, Luna, who was our technical guru, she helped Lindy recently with the fishing asset. That's like super popular and everyone's got right now. You know, Luna is in the VRCAs, and she helped develop that with Lindy. So everyone in this community has, like, in this group are really, really good at whatever they specialize in, and it's like a really small knit community of really high-end creators. And I had everything there. So Luna was in there as my technical guru. Fulski, who did the world creation, he was there. And you know, I was saying to guys, you know, I'm going to need to get a world made, and they all said, yeah, speak to Fulski. So Fulski jumped on board immediately, like he was super down for it. And I'm eternally grateful for him, and you know, I hope it opens some doors for him, and like having that on his portfolio goes well for him. I really hope that helps him as well. And you know, Mixie was part of VR Dancing, and I've been friends with VR Dancing years. So that was she did the camera system. And I reached out to her. That was super simple. She was like, hell yeah, I'm on board. So she made time in her schedule to work on that, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So it's kind of like, I was very lucky to be in a position where I knew the correct people at that time, so I could just reach out to them quite easily, and because they envisioned what I was trying to achieve, they all jumped on board away, and they were all I needed. Because anything technical in VRChat, so world creation, all that stuff, I know nothing. I've never made an avatar in my life. I literally, the people who work my avatars are commissioned, and then they just give me the avatar and I just upload it. So I needed a team to deal with that side, and I did everything else. So I dealt with all the PR and the website and the videos and everything you saw in the show outside, or everything in the run up to it. The voting categories. So I had to figure out the categories as well. That was one of the biggest tasks of the awards. So yeah, it was kind of all that stuff really.
All right.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, it's good. It's good. Like it's good to know all these details. The details are good. Like people need to know. So I'm glad you're sharing. Like, and speaking of the various categories, how were you able to narrow them down? What was your process to kind of figure out what categories you wanted to cover, and what categories you thought would be most relevant in the VRChat community?
This was an absolute ball ache. So this was one of the hardest things to figure out, and this took me months. So I initially drafted like a list of categories that I thought the community would want, and we ballparked like to be manageable for me to deal with, because you know, the more categories, the more workload. So for every additional category, you have 3 nominees that you need to reach out to. You've got 3 more videos you've got to make for the nominee video. You've got 3 more acceptance speeches that you have to acquire for them. You've got 3 more people you need to like research in like their content that they make. It just multiplies the work massively. So we said 25 awards. So I made a list of 25 awards. I then reached out to many different creators in many areas of VRChat for their input. So I had many meetings with groups and individuals to say, this is what we have, what are we missing, what should we add, XYZ. So I did that for a couple of months, and I spoke to many different people, and we went through 6 revisions of the awards category, and by the finished product we had 35 categories across 7 disciplines. And getting more feedback on this final list, everyone kind of agreed this universally covers as much of VRChat as you possibly can. So we had it, and the feedback has been that the category list was perfect. I've not had a single person come back to me and say that we messed up there. So I know that we got it right, because it is a question of covering as much of the community as possible while doing it in as little number of awards as possible, because 35 awards at an award show is wild. That's way too many, but we didn't have a choice. So that was just how it was. I wasn't going to leave anyone out, so I bit the bullet, and instead of having 4 nominees, we reduced it to 3, and that took the weight off from the additional 10 categories that we'd taken on. So you know, next year we want to go up to 4 categories, like 4 nominees. We want to go up to 4 nominees instead of 3 in each category. And you know, having a larger team will allow me to do that, because it takes the workload off and makes it viable. So we are making minor changes to the award, like the categories, but generally we hit the nail on the head, and people were super pleased with the category list, and I'm glad that we got that right, because that was one of the most important things that we got right. And you know, everything we've done is trial by fire. Like, there was no way to know how this was going to go. I'm flying away. Hold on. There we go. No one knew how people's reception to this was going to be. People could have been like, wow, you've missed out this entire segment of VRChat, or you've put too much focus on this and not on this. But the general consensus is no complaints, which is incredible. Yeah, I was super happy with all the time that I put in. Like, it was countless hours of meetings with many respected individuals in the community, from world creators, avatar makers, assets, prefabbers, developers. You know, everyone had a say in this, who are a core part of creating what we have in VRChat, and it paid off.
And okay, yeah, that's actually really good. Like, that's really good to know. Like, that that sounds very, very time consuming and very, very trying to kind of like make sure that you're covering all your bases, making sure that you're not, missing anyone. Like that's very, very important, especially when you're trying to do a community awards show. Let's just kind of, I'll move to a more basic question. Why call it the VR Community Awards? How did you kind of settle on that name? And I know it may be pretty obvious, given the name, but perhaps maybe it wasn't so obvious from the start. So how did you settle on that, the logo, the branding, and kind of how did it all come together?
Yeah, we originally we wanted to call it the VRChat Awards, but after my initial talks with like Pill, he was like, no, you can't use that, like you can't use the name, like, and I understand why. I respect that. So we were like, how do we keep it close to the VRChat Awards, but not the VRChat Awards? So I just came up with the VR Community Awards, and when you shorten it to VRCA, people in the VRChat community instantly think VRChat Awards.
Yeah, they do.
VRChat Awards. So it worked out perfectly. It circumvented the issue we had with copyright with VRChat personally, and people still identified it as the VRChat Awards. So we don't formally call it that, but a lot of people refer to the awards and talk about it as the VRChat Awards, not the VR Community Awards. And yeah, it just flowed perfectly. It's a memorable name for the award show, and the logo presented that really nicely. So once we had the name, I commissioned someone to make the logo, and then we went back and forth and made revisions and edits and changes. And a couple of weeks later, we came back with what we have today. And yeah, that is our logo going forward.
All right. I mean, when it comes to like building all this out and getting all the people together for the awards, for the award show, what was the most I guess, what was one thing that happened during the show that perhaps you didn't expect to happen, and you just kind of had to roll with it? Did anything like that happen? I know there was like a huge kind of waiting period at the start of the show. I'm kind of curious about that. So was that expected? Was that anticipated, or was there something going on behind the scenes that caused that stalling period with the two content creators at the start for about 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah, Drumsy and Moxie.
Yeah.
So this has been a really hot topic and talking point for a lot of people about the awards. And some people loved Moxie and Drumsy, some people were not so keen on that segment. So initially, we wanted about 1 hour from going live to the first award. And that hour would cover the 20-minute start down timer to allow everyone to get in. And that worked perfectly. We had lots of people around the world watch partying with their communities. Those are people in VRChat watching. It gave them time to get in, get settled, and be ready for the show to start. So 20-minute start down timer is quite normal for things like this. The VTuber Awards is a great example. They also have a 20-minute start timer. And then you have pre-show hosts. So I'd spoken to Drumsy a couple of months before the show to say, hey, do you want to come on and do the pre-show hosting for the awards? And he was super down. Really, really nice guy. Totally cool. So we had a meeting and we spoke about it, and then he formally was like, yeah, jump on board. I hadn't given him a specific structure on what to do, but I said to him, just do your thing, but talk about VRChat, talk about the awards, the the general things. And I just left it with him because he's well experienced in this field. Unfortunately, he didn't really plan anything, so he kind of went in deer in headlights, and he brought Moxie with 24 hours notice. So our camera system and our audio system was not set up for two pre-show hosts. So we couldn't do anything about that. So the cameras were a bit janky, the audio wasn't great as well, and they didn't really have a formalized exact plan of what they were going to talk about or do during their segment. So the pre-show host segment should feel like a part of the show. It should feel like an introduction to the show, an introduction to the VR Community Awards, to the nominees, to the categories, and that sort of thing. And if any of you have seen the VTuber Awards, they also have this segment with pre-show hosts, and it feels like a part of the show. It doesn't feel like a stall, so to speak. But unfortunately, that's kind of how it was perceived by people, as we were time wasting. But we had slotted them for 30 minutes to have their pre-show segment, and then move into the awards. Show Dara Fogg's incredible video that he made for the VR Community Awards, the VRChat Atlas as he's called it, and then start the awards from there. So about an hour all in was kind of catered to getting everyone in, getting the viewer numbers up, ready for the first award to be presented. Just like, for example, at the start of our talk show, we took a little segment where we waited to let viewer numbers grow. 1 hour is kind of where you peak at your viewership in people coming in to join and stuff, and that was perfect. So we had given everyone time to get in, and I was watching the watch parties back, and people were getting in halfway through Brunzy and Moxie segment. So that hour window was perfect. So we intend to keep that, but we will structure the pre-show hosts a lot more next year, so it feels like a part of the show. So the initial the initial first hour should only feel like you're waiting 20 minutes. It shouldn't feel like you're waiting an hour. So we will fix that next. So that was a big thing. Drumty and Moxie, I have to say, did an amazing job, considering they went in deer in headlights. And we in the back us backstage, we were laughing our asses off. We thought it was hilarious. And a lot of people did enjoy their segment, and loads of people come back to me saying we loved the drumsy part, that was great. But also people have come back to say, we weren't too keen on that, and we've taken that feedback on board, and it didn't quite go as I did. So we will fix that next year.
All right, great. Yeah, I also thought it was kind of like, oh, they're just kind of filling in time. Like the first 20 minutes or so, like I'm like, okay, we'll wait like a couple or so, like a half hour. But then like I immediately I registered it as, okay, there must be something going on behind the scenes, or there's kind of waiting for kind of people to filter in. So like I'll do something else because I stayed live like while that was going on. I didn't watch it because I'm like, oh, they're there to entertain people. They're there to kind of just be there as the pre-show. So I'm like, all right, cool. We'll wait till the actual show starts. So like it'll be great to see what it'll look like as a more cohesive portion of the show. Not to I think I'm sure they did great. We watched like the last couple of minutes of it, of Drumzy and then the other creator, I can't remember their name.
Moxie,
Moxie.
Yeah.
But they were entertaining. They were troopers to kind of like run that kind of off the cuff. So So go ahead.
I'm sorry,
No.
I was gonna say just with like an add-on to like the pre-show part next year with like its structure. It will be we want to have someone who's on specifically to talk about the nominees, the categories, the awards in general, VRChat, the journey over the last year, all those sorts of things. So it feels like the start of the show, and that people are engaged and actually tune in and watch that bit. And we want them to interview some of the nominees during that segment. So we could have World Creator, one of the nominees, could come on for like 5 minutes and have a chat with the pre-show host. That's the sort of thing these are the upgrades and changes we want to make next year, because I think people will think that's really cool. I think people would really like to see that. So,
I agree.
We're making a whole bunch of changes and additional add-ons like that, which is why the budget is going to expand massively next year, because we need more staff to handle that sort of thing. Yeah, that's kind of the plan for next year. It's going to be way more structured and look like way more professional is the plan for next year.
Hell yeah. Okay, great. That's very, very good to hear. So speaking of next year and the changes that you're looking to make for the show, one of my personal concerns was how to I guess keep I think it's a concern personally, to make sure that people who perhaps were nominated or perhaps people who weren't nominated to have an opportunity to be nominated, so that we don't have a situation where the same people that's just kind of in the community consciousness they're the same people every year, constantly being nominated because they're just bigger than everyone else. So do you have any thoughts about how you plan to tackle that I think is an issue, so that other people in the community can have their time to shine, even though they're not as big or as prominent as many others are? Yeah,
so this is a massive issue that we knew we were going to have. So no matter how you do an award show, there will always be people on both sides of the fence. Some people will say it should be completely public voted. Others will say it should be curated. And what curation means is that an expert panel of judges choose the winners or the nominees. So you can also hybrid and have a mix of 50% of the voting power by the public and 50% of the voting power by the judges goes into it. Funnily enough, the Game Awards does this. They have public voting, but it counts for 10% of the final vote, which is ridiculous. That's wild to me.
That's super low. Like I was very upset about
unbalanced.
that. True. Yeah, I agree.
But like ultimately, it is a money and numbers game for the Game Awards.
Of course.
I get it.
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
a corpo thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the way it is.
Yes.
But yeah, we will never take that kind of control of power. So we're looking at solutions to this because ultimately we knew that some of the categories would be literally just a popularity contest, and especially in the creator segment, like the creator discipline, we knew that some of the nominees were going up against Goliaths.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the Goliaths won out, and it is very difficult to find a balance here because there's no right or wrong answer. Now, the problem with doing curation instead of public vote is that our associates, so we already had an issue with this, so we had associates like Project Community, Trans Academy, etc. They were associated with us for the awards. Now, there was no money involved in their association with us. That was very important to me, because if they were nominated or won something, I didn't want people to get the wrong idea because they'd given us money. Our relationship with all of our associates was tell everyone about the award show, because it was our first year. We needed to spread the word, so we approached major communities in VRChat to say, hey, do you want to work with us? If you tell your community about the show, we'll give you a segment on the show, we'll put you on our posters, and that also gives us legitimacy because we have backing from major communities in VRChat, so it gives us authenticity for the awards and people take it seriously, and it totally works. People some of the people who won awards were in tears because of how important it was to them. But the problem with curation is, ultimately it was completely public voted, and a lot of our nominees were in our associates. So I think all of our associates picked up a nomination in at least one category, and 3 of them actually won an award. So if we had curated and helped choose the winners and it had been one of our associates, that looks really bad. That looks like something fishy going on in the background. So we left it completely up. Like, I didn't even vote. I personally didn't even vote because I wanted no influence in the process at all. It was completely down to you guys. And, a lot of our associates did pick up nominations and awards because they had been pushing the awards on their community for ages. And, for a lot of people, they were just finding out about it as voting opened. So they couldn't rally the troops of their communities to back them in voting as much as other communities. Like, VR Dancing had posters of us all over their worlds for months before the awards opened. So the moment it opened, everyone voted for VR Dancing because they'd already known it was there. So that's how all of our associates ended up getting nominated. And now that we're mainstream, we don't expect that to happen again. We don't expect all of our associates to instantly pick up nominations because now we're mainstream. Everyone knows about us, so many more communities should be rallying their members to vote for them, and it should completely change the landscape of how voting works next year. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, if we curated that, it would have looked really, really dodgy. And people rightfully would have got like the wrong impression and been like, oh, they're associated with them, of course they got nominated, of course they won. We already have issues of people accusing us of malicious intent on that already, although we had no say in anything. We literally just worked with them on a cross-promotion basis, accepted no money at all, and had no influence in the voting process. So it already caused an issue in that regard. Like, some people think that there was like alternative
Like
things going on in
collusion?
the background, but I can assure you on my life that there was not. Like I wouldn't jeopardize the integrity of this award show and all the money and sacrifices I've made to make sure that someone wins something. That's personally, like, the award show was never about who won. The whole reason we did this is because we wanted to fight the stigmas about us in VRChat. Like, if you search VRChat on YouTube, you'll get Predator was uncovered in VRChat, cringe in VRChat, you know, all these really negative tropes about us. And I wanted to show people the side of VRChat that they don't see on the first surface. That was one of the major reasons we did this. But having an award show was a great excuse to bring everyone together and show the world who we are. It was a great reason there. So, like, personally for me, I didn't mind who won any award. It wasn't about the awards for me. It was about showing the world who we are and trying to bring in new creators, new people to join the communities, to see what we can do here and what we have to offer to the world. And, you know, if I got that message across, then my mission is complete. And yeah, that was really more important to me. But, you know, it is an award show, so everyone is focused on the awards and just the awards. I get it. But, you know, I'm not going to jeopardize my name and the brand over trying to make someone win over someone else when I really don't care who wins. So that kind of sets the record straight universally on that one. So going back to curation, etc. We are looking at options next year on how we can kind of balance this, because you are correct. There is a very good chance that people who picked up awards this year could pick up the same awards next year. And, you know, we don't want it to always just be a complete wash with someone picking up the same awards every year, because that's kind of, you know, we want to give a spotlight to as many people as possible. And you know, we want to showcase as much of the community as possible. But if we're showing the same people all the time, it kind of makes that difficult, you know. So we are looking at solutions of doing sort of, this isn't confirmed, this is just an idea we're floating right now, so please don't take this as gospel. Nothing right now is confirmed, so anything I say about next year, just a disclaimer, is not confirmed or will happen. But we're looking at the concept of doing a double vote system. So we will have 2 awards in each category. We will have public vote and curation. Now, the same person cannot win both awards. So we will put it to public vote, and then the public will vote for whoever they want. They will pick up the public vote award. We will then do curation with an expert panel in that field, who will then choose the curation winner. And if whoever wins public cannot win curation. So if we have 4 nominees, 2 should pick up awards. So we're looking, that's one way we're thinking about potentially combating this. This obviously adds a massive amount of complexity to the production and time and resources and money. But we are trying to address this as best we can. Ultimately, there is no correct answer. If we curate it, people will be angry it's not public vote. If we public vote, people will be angry we curate. If we hybrid, people will be angry that we didn't choose a single in either area. So no matter what we do, we cannot please everyone here. It is impossible. So we're just trying to find a balance where we do the best we can. It may come down to, if we have the option of hybrid voting, public voting only, or curation only, I may put this to public vote and just say to the community, here is the poll, what do you want us to do? And then let them choose. And at that point, they've made the decision.
Yeah.
And it's out of my hands, and you've chosen, it's on you. No one can come to me and complain about anything, because I'll be like, well, you guys chose that, so that's on you guys, don't look at me. So you know, we're looking at options here, but this is a massive issue, and is one of the biggest issues with the award show. It's great for 1 year because, you know, everyone's fresh and everyone's new, but it can cause a problem in future years. And obviously, you know, now we're mainstream with this, we expect way more of the powerhouses of content creation to suddenly appear in all the categories. You know, we could end up with, like, you know, Wafflegator, Murder Crumpet, Fillion, and Lolathon in live streamer. You know, no one else is going to get a see in if it's public vote, because they are all absolute powerhouses and they now all know about the awards. So the landscape of next year is going to be a lot more the juggernauts are going to be appearing in the top positions. So we are trying to address this accordingly. But you know, we can't just like focus on smaller creators only or focus on bigger creators only, because then we're literally controlling who's being accessible to the awards, and that feels rigged in my opinion. Like, if I make it so only a certain demographic of people are eligible, that's not fair, you know. So we've got to try our best to make everything as possible. So it's a tricky one, but we are looking at it right now.
Okay, I'm glad it's being looked at.
It's a very long answer, that one.
No. I'm glad you gave an extended answer, because I was talking to my community about that, and I'm like, yeah, this is
it's huge. It's the biggest talking point.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, for sure. So like I'm glad it's actually being taken seriously. How did you I guess while hosting the awards, like what was it like hosting the awards, like actually kind of like doing the whole process of being the sole host? And is that something like did you enjoy that? And like is that something like you want to keep doing it just as you, like, just because you'd already done so many other like positions, like, to make this all come together? Do you want to just host the thing alone? Do you still want to continue to do that, or are you like perhaps looking for like someone else to like take that role, or to assist you like as a co-host or something like that?
We are playing around with a lot of ideas right now. There is potential for a co-host, but it depends on the progression and development of this year's production. So nothing is guaranteed there. One of the major things that we want to change is less of me talking all the time and more creators in the industry involved. So we want a lot of the awards to be presented by other people. So for, let's say, World Creator, we have Jar come on and present the award for World Creator next year. So I would introduce Jar. Jar would come on stage, read from the teleprompter, because we'd have that all set up, so the teleprompter would play. We'd have that controlled by our backstage team. And they would present the award for World Creator, and then we'd play the nominee video, and they would announce the winner, because we'd give them the envelope, and then we'd play the acceptance speech for the winner. So we want to include way more people in VRChat in next year's production. We also want to add live performances by singers and dancers and musicians to kind of encompass what is possible in VRChat with this technology, because, you know, we didn't showcase any of that. We also want to add world first reveals and trailers. So we had a world first teaser trailer for New Eden, for their new project, which has now been formally announced, and I'm wishing them the best of luck with that project. We want loads of people to approach us with their worlds, their avatars, their prefabs, their assets, their OSC integrations that they're doing, so that we can give teaser trailers for whatever they're doing on the show. That would be really cool. So we want to add way more stuff and include way more people, and less of me standing there for 3 hours talking to you. So yeah, it's more likely than not that I will still be the sole host, but there will be way more people involved, and there will be a lot less of me having airtime, and I think that's healthy. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to like show progression in the production. I do have another question, but I'll probably save that for the post section.
Okay.
But let's jump into streaming for you. I think we covered the heavy questions for the VRC Awards. Obviously, there are other things that we can cover, like your personal experience, like how you felt when you were done with everything. But I think we covered like the main talking points. I think that perhaps people were curious about. I think so.
Yeah, there's one major thing that I should mention about the awards before we move on, and that's kind of like regarding just next year in general and that happening. So obviously, as we've discussed, it was massively financially draining on me, on my resources, my sanity, and my funds, and you know, I barely scraped by from it. So next year, because we want to expand the production and everyone involved gets paid, and we want everyone to be paid properly, we need a major corporate sponsorship. We need serious money invested in the project. And I have to be completely transparent. I've said this a few times to my community. If we cannot acquire funding, we will not do the show next year. I cannot expand the production from what it is without a larger team and without a much larger budget, and I can't make the sacrifices I did this year to make it happen. But like, I was happy to do it the first year because I wanted to lay the foundations and prove the concepts to, you know, everyone watching, and everyone absolutely loved it, and it was a huge success, and the praise has been incredible for it, and I couldn't be happier with how it went. But I can't do that again. I can't put myself through that, you know, the like 12-13 hour days back to back, and the massive loss of I just can't make those sacrifices. Like, I may be a full-time content creator, but I don't have savings. I don't, you know, I get by month generally. I don't usually have much money in the, and we need funding. Without it, we can't do that. So I have to be completely clear with everyone. Like, this is the most important thing in my life. Like, running this award show has been the most rewarding thing I will ever do as a creator, and I'm so proud of myself and the team for what we achieved. But unless we can fund this, we won't be doing it again. So I just need to be completely clear with that we are not even confirmed for next year. We are already working on next year because we need to establish what we're going to be doing to encourage people, and then we can approach sponsors.
Right.
Yeah, because we need to show sponsors what we're doing.
Yeah,
we need to give them a plan of how we're going to improve it, what the plan is, who's going to be involved, etc. So failing corporate sponsorship, as a last ditch attempt, I will approach the community with a GoFundMe. That is the plan. I don't want to do that because I don't want to take money out of the community. I want to take money from Corpo and put it into the community by paying everyone who works on the project. So I feel it's counterintuitive to have to do that. But then it will just be your decision. If you want the show to happen, it will be in your hands and it will be up to you. So we will see. We will see. So that is very scary because, you know, what we need to make this happen is not pocket change. We're probably going to at least triple our budget. So, you know, this is serious money we're talking about now, and I just can't do it myself. I need help. So, you know, we have a successful show under our belt, and that opens up the possibility for sponsorship. And we have the figures and the viewer numbers and everything that we had from the show. And we have the associate segments show what we would do for the advertisers. So we give them their dedicated segment, logos, all things. So we're going to try our best. So cross your fingers and pray. That's all I can say, because we don't know if they're all just going to be like, we're not interested, or if everyone's going to jump aboard. We just don't know. The awards were never made to be like a thing that made money for me. It was just a fun project for the community and to, you know, do good for us as a community. But ultimately, you know, I can't pay them. It's just not viable. So you know, the money's got to come from somewhere. So yeah. we will see.
Yeah, we will. Like, I honestly wish you all the best with that. Like, if I will be keeping tabs. I will be keeping an eye on how things come together with that, and know what's going on with it.
I will be keeping everyone up to date.
Yeah.
I will let everyone know what's going on. Well, if we are able to, you know, formally confirm that we have the money and we're moving forward, I will publicly announce that we're coming back for 25. But until then, hold your breath.
Yeah.
It will either be that I announce we're coming back, or that I sadly say that we're closing down. So one of the two.
Yeah. I want to say that I believe in the community, and I believe in the potential of this show. To bring in sponsorships. Like, there's honestly, like, I think there's little loss to like invest in a show like this, especially in the VR space. So I would hope that there will be interested sponsors, corporate sponsors, who would be able to contribute and make this actually happen the way like it's being envisioned, how you've described it to all of us right now. So yeah, I'll definitely be keeping tabs on that and definitely wishing the best with like getting that all together. But let's talk about your streaming, because you're a full-time streamer as well. Like you did all this while also being a full-time streamer, and being a full-time streamer ultimately means your livelihood is dependent on your audience. Very similar to me. So actually not very similar. It is like me, because we were both full-time. So yeah, like how did you end up becoming a full-time streamer, and how did that all come about for you? How did you make that jump competently?
So I started streaming just as a hobby when I was an estate agent. So people have their things that they enjoy. Some people read a book after work. Some people watch TV. Some people play games. My thing was streaming. Like it became the thing that I really enjoyed doing, and I fell in love with it, and it gave a new lease of life to VRChat and VR everything for me. So I totally just fell in love with it. And 2 years later, I hit partner, and I was making enough money that, looking at my figures and consistently, like not like the previous month, I mean like for the last like 8 months prior, I'd been making enough money that I'd be able to live on that and not go to work. So because I'd had such longevity in being stable with my income from streaming, I made the leap to leave my job and become full-time. And I turned down I was headhunted to work in another like location in London, and they would have doubled my salary overnight. And as I mentioned, like I left like an 80k a year job. That was the 80k a year job. Like that would have been life-changing for me. But they wanted more hours. Like being an estate agent, you work long hours, and they wanted more hours, and I would have had to quit streaming. So I had a choice to make. Go all in with streaming and turn down this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, or give up streaming forever and spend your entire life working late. And I chose streaming. It was my calling, and I don't regret it for 1 minute. I absolutely love it. Like about literally almost 2 years on the dot from when I started streaming. So I started streaming on the 27th of December.
What year?
2019, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the 27th of December 2019. I got partner on the 3rd of January 2022. So it's like just 2 years after, or 2020. Yeah. So just 2022. So it's just over 2 years. So it's like 2 years, 4 days or something. 2 years, 5 days or so actually, but
that's pretty fast.
Yeah, it was almost on the dot. So when I hit partner, that was at the point where I was like, okay, let's go fine. And I have a very successful track record as an estate agent. I was a high performer in my field, and I always have that as a fallback. So I would never have gone into this industry if I didn't have a backup plan. And I never intended to make this a full-time job. When I streamed, I would say to my viewers all the time, I will never leave my job because this is so insecure with financials. You never know if you're going to be able to pay the bills month by month. But as time went on, it became very clear that I can live off of the money from my community and the support that they give me. And that allowed me to go full-time and work on incredible projects like the What the Puck and the talk show and the VR community. Like it's all because of them. They invested in me, and I was able to give back to them. So they made this happen. So yeah, it was kind of like a long process of 2 years of so I'd do like 10-11 hour days as an estate agent, come home, eat, and then stream for 3 hours, go to bed, rinse and repeat. And I did that for 2 years, and it was just something I had a genuine passion and love for. And I still do just as much to this day as I did back then. And I can't imagine doing anything else anymore. I just love doing this. It's I feel like this is my natural calling and something that I genuinely enjoy, and I never wanna go. So yeah, that was kind of what happened with my journey to going full time. I just reached a point where I was financially stable to do so with a backup plan. and I just hit partner, so I made the dive and I handed in my resignation.
Oh, okay. So there's actually, and you're like, after you got partner, which again, I think is very, very, I think these days perhaps getting partner in 2 years is kind of a reasonable time for most people. But I also think it's kind of fast. But maybe that's just from my perspective, since I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. So like it definitely is different for everybody. Like, it's not the same results for everybody.
Yeah.
It is a role, and I guess it's kind of luck, being at the right place at the right time. Do you attribute COVID at all to your success and like how your growth and everything?
Absolutely. Yeah. So. COVID, like the Twitch stats just say it all. Like, if you look at the universal global viewership for Twitch during COVID,
it definitely jumped.
Massive,
yeah.
And it was a period of time that built a lot of creators and gave them the platform they have today. So yeah, I'd say that definitely contributed. It was also, VRChat was still quite fresh and new back then, so it was still like the viewers for it was also very high, much higher than it is today. And it had a much larger community of large, big name streamers. So, like Whoops was streaming it. Soda Popping at one point was streaming it.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest creators in the industry were playing VRChat at the time. So it gave it a huge amount of attention. So back then it was easier to be recognized and grow because there were just so many people interested in the game. So yeah. There was definitely multiple things attributed to it, and over the years I'd built up a massive friendship community and loads of people I know. So I already had other content creators giving me support when I was streaming. One of my defining raids was from Artsy. Shout out to Artsy, love that bean. They dropped a raid on me that kind of helped propel me forward, and that was kind of like a defining moment that helped me grow as a creator, and I'm forever always grateful for the opportunity he gave me with her community. It was kind of like the perfect storm. Everything was just in the right place and the right time. I had the right people backing me and supporting me. VRChat was at almost its peak, and COVID was in full swing. So it was just the perfect storm, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it would be kind of incorrect to just say it was COVID. So, what do you think it is about you as a content creator and as a VTuber? Because you said you're more of a VTuber than a VRChat streamer. So that's an interesting topic of conversation. But what do you think there is about you personally that gets people to stay? How do you do you have any idea about that?
I've never really known. So I even say this to this day. I was literally saying this earlier today. I have no clue why people watch me. People watch people for different reasons. Some people like the atmosphere that they create. Some people like the community of the other viewers. Some people like the personality of the individual. Some people just like the aesthetics and listening as a background noise. So there's a multitude of reasons why people will watch any one creator. And I watch different creators for all of those reasons, individually and collectively at times as well. I might find someone really funny. I might find someone who's very calming and I can go to sleep listening to their voice. I watch, what's it? I don't know. Everyone has a different reason for watching a content creator. There's no specific reason for me that I know of. People just some people like my personality. Some people think I'm cute. People love the fact that I kiss boys. Everyone's got a different reason. So I couldn't pinpoint exactly what makes people like me, but I'm just very lucky they do.
And I do think it's kind of interesting that you call yourself more of a VTuber. So why is that? Why do you consider yourself more of a VTuber? When basically, I've done a little bit of research. So I've noticed you've been streaming VRChat since very, very early on. Right when you first started streaming, actually. So how do you define yourself as a VTuber in that regard? While being a VRChat streamer.
So I've started moving away from just solely VRChat content. So obviously VRChat made me, and is where I originally from, and it will always be the core part of me and my life. But as a content creator, being just in VRChat kind of backs you into a corner in kind of what's possible for you in growth and the future if you do this as a profession. So you know, there are many cases of people branching out from VRChat who've gone on to achieve much bigger and better and things. And you know, I want to continue to push what's possible, and want to grow as a creator and continue to do these crazy big projects and other fun things. And I feel like I've kind of reached my limit of how far VRChat can take me as a platform for content creation. Whereas being a VTuber in the larger sphere, it has infinite opportunity for me. So I feel like I'm just expanding my ability to reach a larger audience and not be known as a quote one-trick pony who is just known for VRChat and that's it, you know. Because I don't think I can make it any more in VRChat than I have already. Everyone knows me in VRChat, and I'm very lucky and grateful for that. But the category is, although it's growing as a content creator, the meta or the interesting format of VRChat these days is more in the, you know, in the kind of sexually suggestive areas, and that's something I moved away from. And it's not something that I want to do or is right for me. I have loads of friends who do sexually suggestive content, and I love and support them, and I believe there's a space for everyone in this industry. But it is overwhelmingly predominantly the popular format that is accepted, and it's not what I want to do. So I feel like I have more opportunities if I move into VTubing as a general industry. So I have many friends who are VTubers, and I've been doing a lot of collabs with VTubers recently, and I am focusing more of my time on spending time with them. And you know, this week I've spent time with Miamis in VRChat. Did that one on Monday. On Tuesday I met Kabooks in just chatting, and we did like a collab because he's a 2D VTuber. And you know, I spent time with Valkian last week. He's a 2D VTuber. So I'm starting to spread my name. You know, I've been speaking to a lot of other VTubers about collaborations and working with them and doing things. So I'm just expanding out into that field and getting my name out there and making connection friends in that industry. And you know, I think that's going to lead to much bigger things later. I kind of have a goal of where I want to be. I don't want to say what that is, but I want to get to a point where I don't have to worry about paying the bills ever. I don't have to worry about the rent. I can just be confident that I can live, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this is going to open that door for me. And you know, I will continue to always make VRChat content and be in VRChat, and this is where I will always be. But I want to do what I feel is right for me at the same time, and that is to branch out and explore new horizons differently, which is VTubing in a larger sense. So that has become a major focus for me now. I'm breaking into the VTuber industry as well, because the opportunities there are just much bigger. They really are. For someone like me, it just makes sense. And you know, there's a track record of many people going on to do that. So Nax21, he moved away and it became super successful. Rose Doodle is a good example. Totless was exclusively VRChat. They've branched out to now be a VTuber, not a VRChatter, and that's been super successful for them. You've got Zentreya. Zentreya started in VRChat. They're now one of the biggest VTubers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they moved away and became just chatting VTuber. That's worked out for them. So I feel like I want to follow in their footsteps. I'll never be as popular as them. You know, I don't have those traits or those interesting parts of me that a large, wide-scale audience would be into. But I feel that there's a lot more people out there who would enjoy my content if they saw me in VTubing. So that's kind of where I'm going now.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, even before I started streaming in general, I already knew that VRChat wouldn't be like my main focus also. So, you know, it was gonna be the thing that I started with, but you know, I always knew that I would want to be more of a VTuber. So, like, I'm right there with you. Like, I definitely relate for sure. There was a bit of a break from May 2023 to, I believe, January of 2024. I think there was a break in your streaming. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with that?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. I got a call one day from my mum, and she told me that she'd been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. And sorry, give me a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, It's it was a very tough time. And I was living in my own apartment with my best friend at the time, and I was full-time content creating at that point, and life was good, and then suddenly life wasn't good, and uh, we didn't know if my mom was gonna make it, and it was like a really scary time for my life. And my dad is, my dad's at the time my dad was 73. He has type 2 diabetes. He has a bad hip. He's incredibly, overweight, and he doesn't look after himself. And he was completely incapable of looking after my mum. Um, the year prior to that, my younger sister had passed away from liver failure, so my younger sister wasn't around to help. And my older sister had adopted my younger sister's child because the father wasn't in the picture. Um, that's like a whole other story. But basically, my older sister went from having no kids to being pregnant with her first, and then suddenly adopting my younger sister's 2-year-old. So she went from no kids to suddenly having two, and she couldn't afford to give up her job because she couldn't pay the bills if she went home to look after my mum. So I instantly said I'm coming home. So I ended my tenancy early, which financially ruined me. I'm good at getting financially ruined. This seems to be a trend with me. I was hit with massive fines for leaving the contract early, even though we had new tenants and they were never short on rent. The landlord, I begged the landlord to just cancel the contract and let me go because they hadn't lost out on any income. The new tenants were paying more rent, so it was actually better for them that we were leaving. But he was like, no, you pay everything in the contract and we get more from the tenants. I was like, you heartless bastard. But that's just how people are. So that financially ruined me. So I moved home, and I would spend my days caring for my mum and babysitting the two kids while my sister went to work. And I built an incredible relationship with my nieces, and they love me to bits. And every time they see me, because I don't see them often because I live like a long way away from them, they come running up to me and they go, Uncle Bunny, Uncle Bunny, and they come and give me a hug, and I pick them up and go, and lift them up, and it's really special. So I built a great relationship with them that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Mm.
But it was a very hard time in my life. That was very emotionally hard on me. You can, yeah, I mean, you can tell.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. Yeah.
And streaming was just not a thing that was possible at that time. Like I said to everyone, I'll be back one day, but for now my family come first. And luckily my mum went into remission and she beat it, and I'm very, very happy that she did. Like, I'm very lucky she beat it. And yeah, when I knew she was okay and she was like back to her old self, I was able to move out again. I moved to a little house in the countryside. It's really, really pretty, and I'm really happy here. It's like my dream home, and it means everything to me. And yeah, at that point, I literally just got back on it. I started streaming again in January, and I haven't looked back. And my community kept me strong in that time, and they were my shoulder to cry on, and they kept me. They helped me hold it together when I had to be strong for everyone else. And I don't know if I could have done it without them. And that's why these guys are so important to me. This is why, VRChat, the community, my friends, my gaming community mean everything. They've helped me through the hardest. When I lost my sister, they were there for me. When my mum had cancer, they were there for me. And it means so much to me, and I will never forget what they've done for me. And I hope that everything I do is able to show that appreciation back to them. So, yeah, that was a really hard time in my life. But I'm lucky I was surrounded by the people who were able to keep me strong, and everything's okay now. My mum continues to be in remission. She has to have continuous checks every couple of months, but she's doing good, and that's I'm very lucky, you know, considering like there was a chance she wasn't going to make it. Like the cancer had spread like throughout her body. It was in her lymph nodes, and generally at that point you go stage 4 and that's terminal. So she was very lucky. But I'm just glad I was there to help. And you know, family come first for me always. I love my mum so much, and one of our greatest honors is being able to care for the people who cared for us. So yeah, I was happy.
Yeah, that's very that's incredibly lucky, and I'm very glad that, you know, she made it through. Like I had no idea. I was not expecting that to be her answer, but I'm glad that she's okay. I'm glad that she's alright, and she continues to be in remission. And like that's of course you stop streaming. Of course you go and you take care of the people who took care of you. So yeah, that's awesome, and that's awesome. That's really great that your community continues to have your back and support you. You know, not just then, but also now, which is super. Like you couldn't ask for anything better when it comes to like this sort of this line of work. Like our communities are not just there to simply, you know, keep us afloat. They're there to literally like support us and be there for us and be that extra layer, of support, where, you know, like reassure us that we're doing the right things, you know, that we're on the right track. So yeah, that's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't have any idea about that, but thank you for being transparent about that. I appreciate that. I'm sure other people appreciate that too. What are your goals? What is like your biggest, like what do you hope to, I guess, accomplish, like as like your big goal, with regards to streaming, since, you know, it is what you love to do, it's your calling, even let's say that. What is your like top goal that you want to achieve now that you kind of found yourself in this?
I haven't set myself specific goals, so it's like I have a ballpark of kind of where I want to be, but I don't want to exactly say where that is. But I just want to be in a position where, you know, I don't have to worry about money anymore. I don't want to be rich, and I don't want to be super famous. Like I've never been one to be like I feel very humbled. Like I don't feel like I'm any more important or special than anyone else. I feel like I'm a strong believer that everyone is equal and everyone deserves to be loved, no matter who you are. You know, within reason, as long as you know you're not a murderer and or you know, that kind of thing. But like I just want to be big enough that I don't have to worry about anything. I mean, that would be my biggest thing. You know, I don't need to live in a mansion and drive like a crazy sports car and have like, you know, 20 top women around me. It's like I don't care for any of that stuff.
You want 20 hot boys?
Use the addition.
That's what you want, yeah. Not 20 women, 20 women.
I just want to continue to grow, and you know, because I moved away from making sexually suggestive and adult content about 2 years ago, because you know, I wanted to explore other avenues and do other things, such as the VR Community Awards. In order to do this and get the community's backing, I had to, quote, clean up my act. You know, I needed to be more brand friendly. I needed to be a more positive representation of the entire community, instead of being judged as being something that people don't essentially agree with in the industry. So I had to make a lot of changes to who I was in order to allow me to explore these opportunities and try new things and connect with new people. and you know, I felt like I wanted to just try other things, but because of the content I was making, it was holding me back. When I stopped doing like the adult content and, you know, the highly sexually suggestive stuff, my viewership immediately stagnated. Like, I had no growth for almost a year. I completely stagnated. There was no uptick in my growth. I would like to hope that's starting to change, but I don't want to talk too soon.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
So, yeah, it's been an uphill struggle to kind of continue my upwards growth, because I've moved away from the thing that kind of made me popular in that sense. So yeah, it kind of feels like I've had to kind of take a step back in order to try and make more steps forward. But I hope I'm starting to now take those steps. And you know, the VR Community Awards, I hope, helped with that. You know, I haven't become like an overnight sensation or anything like that. That was never part of the plan anyway. You know, it wasn't about me. But yeah, I just want to continue to grow doing what I'm currently doing, just being a gremlin instead of being sexually suggestive. But like I said, I have so many friends who do make that content, and I love them to bits. They're great people, and I think there's space for everyone here. I just wanted to try something different, and it cost me. Like, I knew it would cost me in growth and my progression as a creator, but I wanted to take the risk, and I think I am gonna get through it. Like, I think I'm gonna continue to grow from now with my new style of content, but only time will tell. So I've got goals of where I want to be, and I'm taking steps to achieve those goals, but time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. Yeah. So on the podcast, we do talk a little bit about our guests' love life. I think it's really insightful to kind of like get a sense of what they are into, what they like, what their values are in that sense. So we got a little bit of understanding of that. You know, you like to kiss boys predominantly, so we know that much. What exactly do you like kind of look for when it comes to like a partner? What kinds of values do you I guess value in a person?
It's kind of hard. So I'm super picky, and my brain just decides who I like. Like, generally I'm into, you know, I like effeminate guys, but I like them to be in control. Like, I am naturally a submissive and a bottom, and I want my partner to take the lead, both metaphorically and physically, because I'm just that way inclined. And yeah, basically just someone who is, you know, they're confident in themselves, and they're happy, and they're carefree. And yeah, it's kind of hard, because I haven't dated many guys except for one long distance relationship. I haven't really had a relationship with a guy, so it's kind of like something that I've been unable to explore properly, because all the guys I ever find that I like always live in Narnia. They live like the other side of the planet, and it just every goddamn time, and it's so annoying. But you know, eventually I'm hoping I'll find a cute guy who will, you know, he'll make me wash up in a cute apron, and then he'll slap my butt, you know, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of really cute for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I wanna be able to, like, you know, sit under a blanket with a hot chocolate and watch a film, and then fall asleep on them, and then you know, I want someone that I love enough that when they tell me it's gonna be okay, I believe.
Yeah, that's really important. That kind of the level of trust, that reassurance, that someone's strong. Like, well, give someone, you know. Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Like, so, like, what do you like? God, what was the question that I had? Wow, I just completely blanked. That's crazy.
That's okay.
That never
You're
happened.
fine.
That totally never happens. With you, do you need somebody who is very understanding with regards to your streaming career, essentially? Do you need someone to be like either like a streamer themselves or someone to be very kind of understanding? Because like, one would assume that you give a lot of time towards, this job essentially. So like how much of that person will have to be understanding of that, and like what are your expectations with regards to, the kind of mindset that a person should have when they expect to be with someone who is basically an online entertainer?
It actually doesn't bother me. Obviously, it's really nice to be able to relate with someone on a personal level like that. And what I would absolutely love is my boyfriend to be my manager. I want them to, my ADD makes it very difficult for me to function like other creators can. And it holds me back so much. But when I have someone telling me what to do, I generally do it. Because I'm just that much of a bottom. So I would want my boyfriend to also be my manager and to manage my time and tell me what I should be doing. And I think that would help me succeed so much more. I feel like I would do so much better as a content creator if I had someone to take control of me and tell me what I'm meant to be doing throughout my day-to-day business. I would be way more structured and way more efficient at making content and doing things, because my ADD just makes me procrastinate and not do things when I'm meant to. So it can be, it's definitely holding me back, but I feel like the solution to this is not medication, it's a boyfriend. So, if they were in the field or the industry, that would be super, super, super useful and very welcome. But, I wouldn't have that as a deal breaker, whether in a relationship. So I would date someone who was in no way affiliated or knew anything about streaming and creation. And, I'd expect them to have, like, a conceited effort to at least try to understand or know about it, like I would about them. But I wouldn't expect them to, like, be super into it in the same regard. So, preferably yes, but not a deal breaker. But generally, because this is my industry and these are the only people I really communicate or talk to, it's very likely that my boyfriend will be involved in the industry in some description. So.
Okay, yeah, I definitely can see that. What do you, I guess, how important is it for an individual to, I guess, how important it is a person to have like goals and dreams? Like do you need the person that you're with to be very like motivated to like have their own ambitions? What kind of do you need them to have some sort of like goal in mind, or can they just be kind of goofball who just like has a good time and apparently would even like assist you with your content creation and management and stuff? Like, I guess, how important is it for someone to be kind of, I guess, structured or goal-oriented in their own life? Because I think a lot of people want that sort of thing in an individual. They don't want them to just kind of be like, not aiming for anything in their own lives. Like, how much does that matter to you?
Not at all. Like, I really don't care what your plans or your goals are. If you have them, I will support you and help you with them if I can. But you could be working at a pub and have no ambition to ever do anything else for the rest of your life. I don't mind. Doesn't bother me as long as you're stable. And you've got your head screwed on. You can have no goals or no aspirations, and I don't mind. I don't think that it's my place to judge someone else or my feelings for them over the choices they make or what they want to do with their life. I should if I love you, regardless of what you want to do or what your goals are, be it none, I really don't mind.
Okay. So for you, what would actually be some deal breakers for you when it comes to an individual?
Definitely first and foremost, and I say this to so many people, and this is why it's much harder for me to find boys today. I am a strict bottom. I will top on like once in a blue moon. I can top. No one believes me when I say this. They're all like, "No, bunny, you never top anything." I can top, and I will, but generally I won't. You know, it has to be the right time and right mood. But so they have to be the top. So I could never have a relationship with another strict bottom because we would just never have fun in a sexual like stance. So like intimacy and sex is super important to me in a relationship. It's like one of the core things. It's not everything, of course. And you know, a relationship is give and take, and you have to make sacrifices and considerations for each other. That's part of a relationship. But a healthy and active sex life is super important to me. So if they were a bottom, it's just not going to happen. This is just not going to go anywhere. It won't go beyond friends. So that's kind of like a massive deal breaker to me. The other one is kind of like if you have any beliefs or mentality that is in any form racist or segregative or puts down another person or people or gender or race for whatever reason. I don't care if it's your religion or your upbringing, etc. We're not going to be compatible because like everyone should be treated, that people should be treated the way they treat you, regardless of who they are, their background or their history or their race or gender or their identity. And if you can't get past that concept, we're not going to work straight away. That's just no. I also wouldn't date a smoker. I used to smoke. I quit smoking I had my last cigarette 1st of July last year. And I have no intention to ever go back to smoking, and the idea of smoking now is just absolutely disgusting to me. I couldn't date a smoker. So that's super like off the table for me. If you smoke, you've got no chance because you just smell terrible. That's about it really. Like as long as you as long as you've got your head screwed on. So like it's okay if you have like things going wrong like ADHD or ADD or whatever, or you might be a little bit on the autism spectrum. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. As long as you don't have like you don't have anger issues and violent tendencies, and I don't want to be in a relationship that's going to slowly turn abusive. So that's kind of a thing for me as well. So someone who's got like they've got all their marbles in place is kind of important. There's a famous saying, "Don't stick your dick in crazy." It's basically that.
Right.
So yeah, they're kind of like the main things, but everything else is up for like debate or interpretation. So but yeah, those are kind of like the fundamental things. I would say as well, people much older than me. So I've been sexually active with someone who's 51 years old before. But that's kind of pushing it. I probably wouldn't go past that. That's kind of like a limit for me. 50, 51 is kind of where I'd hard limit. But obviously as I get older, that goes up. And on the other end of the spectrum, I wouldn't date like an 18 or a 19-year-old because they're just not mature enough. And that is a large age gap. So that's the thing. But I would hardline draw the line at like mid-20s, I think. But it would have to be someone that it's like super into, like super into. So I firsthand I know that relationships with large age gaps can work and can be absolutely fine. My big sister is a perfect example. She is 39 this year, and her husband turns 50.
Oh.
And they have a beautiful house. They're both successful in their fields, in their working professions. They have 2 beautiful kids. They are the perfect family. But if they going back when they first met, my sister was in her 20s and he was in his 30s. So when they were at that age, people looked at them like, "Oh, that's kind of weird," But now she's 37, he's about to turn 50, and they have a beautiful family. And so for me, like, age gap is sort of important to a certain degree, but I have more tolerance for it than most people do because of the first-hand real life experiences I've seen of my family around me. So, I do think it would be questionable and weird if I was dating someone who was like 18, 19, 20 years old, and I totally get that. But I don't think that I am unreasonable for having a relationship with someone in their 20s.
Right. Okay. So I have a couple more questions for you. Where would you like to be in 2 years?
I don't know, probably under a blanket kissing my boyfriend. That'd be a great start.
That'd be great, yeah.
I don't really look that far ahead in my life. I've never been one to really plan my life goals. Like, my career has consistently changed throughout my life. You know, I went to college twice because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I dropped out of university in my last year because I decided I didn't want to go into IT. Best decision I ever made. Like, obviously financially ruining. I owe the government like £35,000. They're never getting that back. Good luck to them. But it's yeah, I've never been one to like structure my life and have like a life goal, and that's down to my ADD. My ADD does not allow me to make those plans. So, I was able to be a coherent estate agent because I wasn't stuck behind an office screen all day. I was always out and about, meeting new people, exploring new properties, dealing with new like issues, and so it was consistently changing, which meant that my ADD could handle that. But if I do the same job day in, day out, I'm not going to make it more than 6 months a year. I'm going to leave that job. So, considering I can barely, decide what I want to do at the moment, I would never be able to, like, make long-term plans. Or so 2 years from now, hopefully still streaming, and just being a much more successful streamer in the space, in the VTuber space, in 2 years' time. That would be awesome. Yeah, being financially stable, having a boyfriend, and being successful in the larger VTuber space is where I'd love to be in years, I guess. I think that's the best way I can answer that.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know. I'm tracking stuff in.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, if you could give any manner of advice about anything, it could be about something we haven't talked about, something we did talk about. If you give any manner of advice to the people who are listening, who are tuning in, what would that be? And again, it could be literally anything. So, just something that you want to kind of leave the viewers with.
I always put this down to just like a single sentence of be unapologetically proud of being you. Be proud of who you are, no matter who that is. Don't let other people tell you who you can and can't be. Don't let other people hold you down. Don't let other people hold you back from doing what you dream of or what you want to do. And just enjoy life. Like, for me as an atheist, life has like, there is no ultimate life goal like heaven or whatever. I'm just here to have fun and enjoy my life and do the things I always want to do. Live your life without regrets, because you never know when your time will come. I've lost friends who are 18 years old. I have a tattoo on my arm to commemorate that loss, that person. And I have a tattoo on my back to commemorate the loss of my sister. You never know how long you have, so you might as well do the things you enjoy while you still can. And if you can look back on your time when your time comes, if you can look back on your life and go, I have no regrets, you had a good life. So that's the best advice to anyone. Just live your life, do your thing, have fun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable advice. So my last question is, where can people find you, and what do you have planned for the near future?
I mean, we're bringing back What the Puck Season 3 this year, so we haven't formally publicly announced its return. We were meant to do it last year, but then as the VR Community Awards exploded, that took so much time. I had to can Season 3 last year. We are coming back with a brand new world. We do have this scheduled to be the first show to be the first week of August. So we are going to open applications in sort of June, maybe July. So applications will be coming for CSV soon. They'll be available on the website, what-the-puck.net. And obviously, you know, we're going to try and get funding for the VR Community Awards if we want to bring that back for February 2025. And voting for that will open in December if we're able to do it. And as far as like short-term projects, I am coming back with the Collabothon Invitational 2. We haven't announced this yet, but we are doing... This is going to be on Sunday the 16th of March. It's basically like a marathon stream of collaborations with other creators. So I have 20 other creators who will be joining me for back-to-back sessions in Repo. It's going to be a 12-hour stream, and we have some large creators, some small creators, and some creators I've never met, and it's just for bragging rights who's the best at Repo. So it's all just for fun. But I did this series last year. We did the Collabothon Invitational, the first one, in Content Warning last year, with about, I think we had 15 creators in that. And that was a huge success. That went down really, really well. And Repo is the perfect game to bring this back. So we have a video in production for this. I can now actually pay my video editor because I have money, so that's good. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to pay my video editor. And that's going to be a massive event. So Sunday the 16th, we're coming back for the Collabothon Invitational 2. And I want to do more of those over the coming year. They are massive events, and they include a whole bunch of people from all sorts of backgrounds. So it's a great way for people to meet each other and take part in these really cool events that kind of can potentially give them a pedestal to a larger audience, and are just a hell of a lot of fun. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to be crying with laughter. I'm really looking forward to this. So yeah, so we're bringing that back. So people are going to be super excited when we announce that with the video on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Sunday 16th Feb. Not Feb. Sunday 16th March.
March?
Mm-hmm.
So this
yeah,
so this month?
The kind of things I'm working on right now.
So this month?
Yeah, this month. So literally in about like 2 weeks. Well, actually, no, it's next week now. Yeah,
it's next week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally next week. So yeah, we're working on that as well. So yeah, Collabothons. What the Puck, the talk show's coming back for season 3, and obviously, you know, we want to do the VR Community Awards for 2025. So there's a lot on my plate right now, and you know, everything's up in the air. The only thing that is guaranteed is What the Puck. We are absolutely, definitely moving forward with that. That is happening this year, come hell or high water. It's been 2 years, and everyone's been asking for it for a hell of a long time. And you know, the space has changed a lot in the last 2 years, and I've met so many different creators. And there's so many more people who need a platform to reach a larger audience, and I want to do my thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm super excited to bring that back. I love the talk show. It really is one of my passions. Really love it. So I'm really happy to. So yeah, there's a whole lot going on for me at the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. So where can people find you?
Yeah, twitch.tv/puck, I guess, is my main thing. I also put stuff on YouTube sometimes. You can actually watch the award show back if you missed it and you want to see like all the winners. We have timestamped every single category. That took me so long to do. Oh my god, absolute pain in the ass.
Yeah, I
bet. Hope you appreciate it, guys. So yeah, you can go back and instantly watch any category you want, and the whole show is up in its raw format, live from when we streamed it. So the whole thing is there. And yes, sometimes I upload skits about me talking about kissing boys and things, which is always fun. And I have a Twitter where sometimes I post my shorts and dumb VRChat videos and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free to check me out on Twitter. It's VRCPuck.
All right.
I think that's about it. Oh yeah, and the award show is on VRCommunityawards.com. We have a website now.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
There's a whole bunch of places.
Mm. Absolutely. So where you guys can find me? If you're watching this live on Twitch, thank you for watching live on Twitch. If you're not watching live on Twitch, you can find me over there at twitch.tv/Nepherti with 2 eyes. You can also find me on Twitch. Twitch, I already said that. Twitter, Nepherti with 2 eyes. You can also find me on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, thanks. And if you're not, you can find me on YouTube, where this will be ultimately. at Nepherti with just one I. And of course, if you'd like to receive information about the podcast or later guests, anything that's coming down the line in terms of this podcast, you can follow the podcast Twitter at Sweet Talking Pod. Also on Twitter. You can also follow me on Blue Sky, which I recently created. If you essentially just want the same kind of content, just on a different platform, essentially, just kind of all in one place. If that's your preferred platform, you can find me there at Nepherti with one I. And as always, if you'd like to support the content that I do, and you like what I do and you want to help me do more, as I do this full time, essentially I'm a content creator, streamer full time. You can find me at patreon.com/Nepherti. So, for those of you who are tuning in now, we are about to wrap up the recording of the podcast right now. So, those of you who are tuning in now, if you'd like to see the exclusive additional extended conversation with Puck, you'll have to go to my Patreon and see about that. You can subscribe to my Patreon starting at just $1, and you can check out all of the tiers there if you're interested in that sort of thing. Totally up to you. Totally up to you if you want to do that. But we will be wrapping up the podcast for you guys who are watching on live and on YouTube right now. So I want to thank my wonderful guest Puck for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very very busy schedule, especially since you're from London and I'm from the East Coast of the US. So I definitely do appreciate you taking the time. Yeah.
3 in the morning.
yeah.
It's okay. No, I really enjoyed this. Like, it's not often I get to be on this side of the couch where people ask me questions, and you know, being able to go so in depth, I think is really insightful for a lot of people. You know, finding out kind of the back operations of the VR Community Awards, I think that will mean a lot to people. And yeah, it just gives people more of an insight into who I am, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do here. We like to dig in and really uncover some things that may be hidden about people who do things in VRChat, whether it's being a creator, singer, musician, whether you're just kind of existing in VRChat sometimes. I like to talk to everybody. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. And
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. If you guys enjoyed tonight's podcast, please be sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Obviously, if you're watching this live, please follow on Twitch. I'd really appreciate that. Whatever you would like to do, everything, every little bit helps. Every little bit of support definitely does help. So for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching the 56th episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, Nepherti, and with my guest Puck. I hope this was insightful. I hope you learned a lot. I certainly did. So I certainly look forward to the next episode. So I hope you all will be looking forward to it too. Please subscribe, leave a comment if anything resonated with you. And we will see you next time. Take care, and see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.